This is Artemis Mission Control here at Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. The crew aboard Orion conducting their CPR demo, learning how they would offer CPR to a crew member in need if the need ever arose on the spacecraft. Of course, this is just a demonstration and it will be used for future training for future flyers. Another consideration when we fly in space are solar eruptions. Between the Apollo 16 and 17 missions, the solar eruptions were a near miss for our lunar explorers. Today, those Apollo-era flares serve as a reminder of the threat of radiation exposure for astronauts in space, as well as technology. So understanding and predicting these solar eruptions is crucial for our safe exploration. We now have data, technology, and resources available that have improved, which enable advancements towards space weather forecasts and astronaut protection. These are all key to NASA's Artemis program to return human astronauts to the moon.
It's August 1972, and Ian Richardson, a future NASA scientist, is watching TV when the BBC announces
the interference is caused by solar activity.
He didn't know it then, but the sun had just erupted in one of the most powerful solar events ever recorded. There was no threat to humans because Earth's magnetic field deflects much of the sun's radiation. But the explosions were so powerful that intense radiation disrupted TV signals and caused radio blackouts. So what if you were outside Earth's magnetic field? On the moon and beyond, astronauts face the risk of extreme radiation exposure. Luckily, the intense radiation in 1972 occurred right between the Apollo 16 and 17 missions, when no astronauts were in their path. As NASA plans missions to go back to the moon and then onto Mars, predicting the sun's activity to protect astronauts from space radiation is one of our biggest priorities.
One of the biggest unknown factors about going to space is the radiation hazard from the sun.
This is Ian today, studying the effects of the sun, also known as the field of heliophysics.
The sun is always emitting radiation like the light we see, but certain energetic particles, like from the August 1972 events, can be far more harmful.
To be able to forecast solar energetic particles, we need to know how the sun energizes them. The sun is made up of electrically charged particles called plasma. As this plasma moves, it builds up energy inside its massive magnetic field. This energy is usually released in two types of explosions. Flares are intense flashes of light. Coronal mass ejections are giant eruptions of solar material.
These solar eruptions send shock waves across the solar system, accelerating particles as they go.
These are solar energetic particles, or SEPs. They consist mainly of protons and possess a lot of energy that can affect satellite measurements and humans.
SEPs can bombard you with a lot of radiation in a short period of time. They can penetrate your skin, damage your DNA, and increase your chances of getting cancer and radiation sickness.
But they don't occur with every solar eruption. Only a small number of flares and coronal mass ejections create SEPs.
So we're trying to predict when SEPs form and how they travel through space.
At NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, the Community Coordinated Modeling Center, or CCMC, is dedicated to testing prediction models. Working with global partners, they use data from NASA satellites at different vantage points and models to figure out how solar explosions behave, including how shock waves energize SEPs. And as we get better at predicting, we get more time to prepare.
Preparation for an SEP event, of which you may know that is already coming, and perhaps the magnitude as well, the technique that you would want to use is to put as much mass between you and the source.
On the surface of the moon or Mars, astronauts can go underground or build shelter with local materials. But in transit, astronauts can only be protected with what's on the spacecraft.
Which means that you might have elements on a spacecraft that have multiple purposes.
NASA's space radiation specialists are testing different ways to do this. One strategy they tested on the Orion spacecraft involves crew members barricading themselves with as much mass as possible in the center of the spacecraft. Other possible techniques in development include vests that add mass and electrically charged surfaces that deflect particles.
In terms of radiation protection and radiation mitigation, the factor of time is extraordinarily important.
The sun has a natural 11-year cycle that transitions through low and high activity, which is indicated by the number of sunspots on the surface. More sunspots mean more eruptions, resulting in a higher risk for SEPs. But during this increased solar activity, the sun's magnetic field strengthens, enhancing its shield against another important source of radiation, galactic cosmic rays. These are charged particles traveling at nearly the speed of light that are thought to come from supernova explosions from within our galaxy and possibly further out in the universe. If solar energetic particles are intense sporadic storms, then galactic cosmic rays are a constant drizzle. Galactic cosmic rays are more sparse, but also much more energetic. They include heavier elements that can penetrate through vast amounts of materials. Understanding the rate of galactic cosmic rays helps us determine how much time astronauts can spend in space safely. To date, humans have only been on the lunar surface for a cumulative total of about 12 days. A trip to Mars will take 6 to 10 months each way. That means even more radiation exposure, and so NASA is doing work to prepare for that.
The moon is going to be a test bed for us in order to be able to prepare for Mars. The more that we understand the impact and the duration of radiation on the moon, the more we can extrapolate that to the length of time that we will be spending in transit and on the surface of Mars.
You're looking at a live view of the outside of the Orion spacecraft. Specifically in this frame, you can see the European Service Module and the Orbital Maneuvering Service engine. And in the video we just watched about deep space radiation, you saw some team members demonstrating how they could use cargo transfer bags to help protect a crew from radiation exposure. That is something that this crew will test out as well. On Flight Day 8, they have a radiation shelter demo timelined. During that time, the crew will build a makeshift radiation shelter within the cabin and prepare the lockers on the spacecraft for ingress. Of course, this is just a demonstration and practice in case it were to be needed for a future mission. Orion is currently traveling 3,246 miles per hour, 125,130 miles from Earth, and 144,220 miles away from the Moon. If you're just tuning in with us today, we were expecting to have the outbound trajectory correction burn this afternoon. However, that burn was canceled as it was deemed unnecessary following such a precise translunar injection burn yesterday. Teams confirmed we are on the proper trajectory to send us around the Moon and bring the crew home on Flight Day 10 with a splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. So they were able to cancel the outbound trajectory correction burn. And according to Christina Cook, the crew was able to enjoy a snow day.
Radical leftist. Radical leftist Hassan Piker. That's right, chat. Radical leftist. He's the worst. No one is worse than him. That's right. Da-da-da-da. Okay, here goes P3. That's right. Right? Check 1, 2.
Hey. How's it going? What's up? Yo. There we go. Let's see if this works. Oh God. This is bad. Okay, here it goes. Here goes nothing. Here goes nothing. Oh no. Oh no, my face isn't working. Oh, no special guest today. Oh no, it doesn't work. Just kidding. What's up, chat? How you doing? I'm your special guest today. I don't like my voice. I don't like my voice. My voice sounds shitty. I'm sorry. I got the mic on wrong. Oops. Shitty shit. Fuck. Yeah. I look pretty good, huh? Well, I just thought I'd bring you the news today. 8-7 had to take a break. That's right. He sent me. I just got back from the marathon. My headphones are stuck in one place though. It kind of sucks. I agree. Hold on. Gotta fix my voice. Hello? Oh. Oh. Yeah. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. My voice is changing. What am I supposed to do? Oh shit. Oh, there we go. Okay. I kind of sound female. Kinda. Oh shit. Okay. Alright, special guest ready. This works really fucking good. Not gonna lie, Chad, I kinda like this. It's too bad it doesn't stay on. What is happening? Huh. Okay then. Hold on. I don't know how to fix that right now. But probably can fix that next time. Hold on. Welcome to TCCN. TCCN. That's right. I'm your new host, Thief. That's right. I'm that annoying political thief that steals all your loot because I'm anti-capitalist. That's right. Hold on. Hold on 1 second, chat. Hold on. 1 second, chat. Just be right back. Yeah, so in-game, I usually will steal your loot because, you know, capitalism. And famously,
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy.
leftists like myself,
President Trump's warned
I'm
Tehran
Thief
of
from
more
the game
attacks
Marathon, by the way.
after the United States and Israel launched strikes on civilian infrastructure
Yeah,
in Iran. On Thursday, the U.S. bombed a major bridge under construction in the city of Karaj, west of Tehran,
I rob
then
all
attacked
your,
it again about an hour later. As emergency crews were assisting...
Okay, reintroduce myself. Hold on, we got a problem. I realized. Sorry, chat.
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. President Trump's warned Tehran of more attacks to come.
We're back, chat. Attacks.
After the United States and Israel launched strikes on civilian infrastructure in Iran. On Thursday, the U.S. bombed a major bridge under construction in the city of Karaj, west of Tehran, then attacked it again about an hour later. As emergency crews were assisting the wounded. Iran says the double-tap strike on the B-1 suspension bridge killed 8 people and wounded nearly 100 others. The head of the construction company building the bridge said it had absolutely no military use and warned its destruction will worsen traffic for more than a dozen provinces in Iran.
These fucking capitalists.
If this is help, please redefine that term for me. They destroy infrastructure to push the country backward and weaken the spirit of our people.
Separately, Iran says U.S.-Israeli airstrikes have destroyed the Pasteur Institute of Iran, a century-old medical research center that's played a key role in combating infectious diseases in the Middle East. Iran's Red Crescent says U.S.-Israeli strikes have hit more than 113,000 civilian sites, including homes and schools, killing more than 2,000 people, including women and children, with at least 21,000 injured. Maria Martinez is the head of the Red Crescent's delegation for Iran.
We estimate that at least 3% of the population has been displaced. This represents around 1 million families, 3 million people.
Iran has published a list of major bridges across the Persian Gulf region it said could come under tit-for-tat retaliation following the U.S.-Israeli coalition strike on the B-1 bridge earlier in the day. Iran's targets include bridges in Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, Jordan, and the King Fahd Causeway linking Saudi Arabia to the island nation of Bahrain. Iran's threat of escalation came as it announced a wave of drone and missile attacks on Gulf nations, including U.S.-owned steel plants in the UAE and a weapons factory in Israel. Iran said one attack targeted a data center of the U.S. software company Oracle in Dubai. UAE officials denied the claim. Iran also said it struck an Amazon cloud computing center in Bahrain. Meanwhile, Kuwait said Iran struck a power and desalination plant earlier today, hours after it struck an oil refinery, sparking a number of fires. Separately, Yemen's Houthis said they'd fired a barrage of ballistic missiles at Israel in coordination with Iran and Hezbollah in Lebanon. In Iraq, an Iranian-backed militia claimed responsibility for 6 attacks attacks on U.S. military
Friday,
bases
folks.
over a 24-hour period. The attacks came as 2 Iranian drones struck a U.S. diplomatic support facility at Baghdad International Airport Thursday evening. Israel's military says it struck more than 3,500 targets across Lebanon in the month since it renewed large-scale attacks on Hezbollah while invading parts of southern Lebanon. The Lebanese Health Ministry reports 1,345 people have been killed and over 4,000 wounded since the start of the war, with 125 children among the dead. In Gaza, a Palestinian man died from his injuries Thursday after Israeli soldiers shot him in the outskirts of Khan Yunis. The killing came after 2 Palestinians were killed and several others wounded in an Israeli airstrike targeting a gathering of people in Khan Yunis. A relative said the strike killed a father and a toddler.
He was in his neighborhood, walking with his young son, who was 2 years old. He was carrying his son and walking in the street when a reconnaissance drone hit them directly with a missile. He and his son were martyred instantly, and their bodies were torn to pieces.
You hate to see
In the United Kingdom, 2 leaders of the Palestine Solidarity Movement have been found guilty of failing to march within a designated area set by police during a massive pro-Palestine demonstration in London last year. Ben Jamal of the Palestine Solidarity Campaign and Chris Nineham of the Stop the War Coalition said they would appeal the convictions. In a statement, Human Rights Watch said the verdict was intended to intimidate and silence dissenting voices to the UK's ongoing support for the Israeli government war crimes. Meanwhile, in France, police on Thursday detained European Parliament member Rima Hassan on suspicion of, quote, apology for terrorism over a social media post about a former member of the Japanese Red Army who participated in an attack on an Israeli airport in 1972. Hassan was born stateless in a Palestinian refugee camp in Syria as a member of the leftist France Unbowed party. She was a leader of a Gaza Freedom Flotilla mission that was intercepted by Israeli forces in international waters last June as they attempted to deliver food and aid to Gaza. Critics have condemned her arrest as judicial harassment aimed at silencing her outspoken criticism. President Trump has fired Pam Bondi from her position as U.S. Attorney General amidst reports of Trump's growing frustration with Bondi's failure to prosecute his political enemies. Bondi's the second cabinet member to be fired by Trump since he retook the White House after former Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem was ousted in March. Trump said his former criminal defense attorney, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, would serve as acting U.S. Attorney General. Meanwhile, Lee Zeldin, who currently heads the Environmental Protection Agency, is reportedly a top contender to replace Bondi as Attorney General. Bondi was a Trump loyalist who oversaw the Justice Department's disastrous handling of the Epstein files. Her firing comes just months after a heated congressional hearing in which Bondi refused to apologize to Epstein survivors who were present in the room for the DOJ's failure to fully redact their names in the Epstein files. California Congressmember Robert Garcia said in a statement, quote, she will not escape accountability and remains legally obligated to appear before our committee under oath. Referring to a House Oversight Committee subpoena issued against Bondi last month, set for April 14th. On Thursday, Congressmember Ro Khanna said Senate Democrats should impede the nomination of a new U.S. Attorney General until all Epstein files without redactions have been released.
Democrats must insist that any new Attorney General will release the remaining 3 million files with no redactions other than protecting the survivors. The new Attorney General must commit to investigating and prosecuting people who are all over these files and raped or...
Yes, Ro Khanna is correct. Ro Khanna is king.
...abuse these girls. And the new Attorney General must commit to not using the Justice Department for political prosecutions. It is not enough to replace one Trump sycophant with another.
We will speak with constitutional law professor David Cole after headlines. The White House is preparing to unveil a record-shattering Pentagon budget request of $1.5 trillion for the next fiscal year. It's by far the largest year-over-year increase in a presidential military spending request since World War II. It includes funding for F-35 stealth fighter jets, new warships, including Virginia-class submarines, and Trump's Golden Dome missile defense shield, which the White House says will cost $185 billion. Meanwhile, President Trump has said the U.S. cannot afford to pay for social programs like daycare, Medicare, and Medicaid amidst record military spending. Trump spoke during a White House Easter lunch on Wednesday.
Wow. It's not possible for us to take care of daycare, Medicaid, Medicare, all these individual things. They can do it on a state basis. You can't do it on a federal. We have to take care of one thing, military protection. We have to guard the country.
A new report by Oxfam International finds the wealthiest 1/10 of 1% of the world's people are hiding more than $2.8 trillion in offshore accounts to avoid paying taxes. That's more wealth than is owned by the poorest half of humanity, more than 4 billion people. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has fired the Army's Chief of Staff, General Randy George, along with 2 other top generals. A Pentagon spokesperson gave no reason for Thursday's abrupt firings. General George has served as a senior assistant to former Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin under President Biden. The New York Times reports he'd recently clashed with Hegseth over Hegseth's decision to block the promotion of 4 Army officers to become one-star generals. 2 of them are black. The other 2 are women. Meanwhile, Democrats on the Senate Armed Services Committee are pushing for an investigation into a Financial Times report which found Hegseth attempted to make a multi-million-dollar investment in arms company stocks just weeks before President Trump joined Israel in its attack on Iran. The Trump administration's deported 12 people to Uganda, marking the first known arrival of immigrants expelled from the U.S. to the African country since striking a so-called third country agreement. Trump has pushed to deport immigrants from the U.S. to countries they have no ties to as part of his brutal immigration campaign. The Uganda Law Society vowed legal challenges, saying those deported were, quote, effectively dumped in Uganda through an undignified, harrowing, and dehumanizing process that's reduced the deportees to little more than chattel for the benefit of private interests on both sides of the Atlantic, unquote. Other African countries have agreed to receive U.S. deportees under Trump, including Eswatini, Ghana, Rwanda, and South Sudan. A Venezuelan man is suing the Trump administration after he says he was illegally detained and deported from the United States to El Salvador's notorious Secat mega prison last year. The Venezuelan immigrant, who is identified by the pseudonym Johnny Hernandez, is seeking $56 million in damages. Despite having no criminal record in the U.S. or Venezuela, he was arrested by federal immigration agents sent to El Salvador, where he says he was tortured. Brent Ward, a member of his legal team, said in a statement, quote, the Trump administration knowingly and unlawfully locked up an innocent person for 4 months in a concentration camp-like prison, where he suffered torture, shooting, beatings, and solitary confinement. Our client suffered catastrophic injuries in Secat, from which he will never fully recover, he said. And environmental groups have sued the Trump administration for removing protections for endangered species in the Gulf of Mexico to allow oil and gas offshore drilling. The unprecedented blanket exemption would leave several Gulf species and ecosystems vulnerable to extinction, including the critically endangered Rice's whale. The move was approved by a 6-member committee chaired by Interior Secretary Doug Burgum. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth invoked the vote, claiming that lifting the Endangered Species Act protections in the Gulf was a matter of national security as the U.S.-Israeli war in Iran has disrupted global oil supplies. The Sierra Club said in a statement, quote, the Trump administration's playing God with our most vulnerable wildlife by deciding which endangered species are worth saving and which can be sentenced to extinction to pad oil and gas profits.
How dare you?
And those are some of the headlines This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman in New York, joined by Democracy Now!'s Juan Gonzalez in Chicago. Hi, Juan.
Hi, Amy, and welcome to all of our listeners and viewers across the country and around the world.
Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.
My eyebrows, I don't know how to control. I don't know how to draw eyebrows. They need to move. Sorry, girls. I'm working on it.
This is America, and right now, America has troops on standby in a region it says it does not want to fight in. Warships, Marines, airborne forces are arriving even as Washington insists this will not become a prolonged conflict. So are these troops leveraged to force a deal or the opening move in a wider war? Now, I'll be back a little later in the program as we explore that question. But to start us off, here's Anna Burns-Francis.
Thanks, Manny. The president has promised the war will be over soon. But what will happen before then? In a moment, we'll be joined by our White House correspondent, Kimberly Halkett, and Richard Gaisford is near a military school in upstate New York. It's the men and women of the American military who are now waiting to find out what their future holds. And at the moment, this war is not going in a direction any of them.
This is a little bit biased, but it's not that bad compared to some shit out there.
Let alone the administration would want. This footage coming out of Iran purported to show US forces scrambling a search and rescue mission after one of its fighter jets was shot down by the regime over the southwest of the country. Iranian media is already reporting it's found parts of the aircraft. And only hours beforehand, the Secretary of Defense asked a top army boss to stand down.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has asked Army Chief of Staff General Randy George to step down.
In a major shakeup within the Pentagon.
But the reality is there have been rumors that Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth was going to fire him for some time.
The president's updated schedule shows he's staying in D.C. this long weekend. The rapidly shifting situation is creating a lot of uncertainty. But the whole way along, Donald Trump has seemed reluctant to put boots on the ground.
I don't even want to talk about it now. I mean, it's, I don't think it's an appropriate question. You know, I'm not going to answer it. Could there be? Possibly, for very good reason. Have to be very good reason. And I would say if we ever did that, they would be so decimated that they wouldn't be able to fight at the ground level.
And it would seem he's in step with public opinion. A recent poll found 62% of Americans oppose sending in ground troops. Nearly 60% of people think it's unlikely the US will reach a settlement to end the war in Iran, and 46% say they don't think Trump will back out of the war before the US accomplishes its objectives. We'll find out more about what American military families think of the potential for a ground invasion with our correspondent, Richard Gaisford, who joins us from near the West Point Military Academy in upstate New York. But first, let's go to the White House and to Kimberly Halkett. Kimberly, the president is staying in Washington, D.C. He's not headed to Florida this long weekend. Are we expected to hear from him?
Well, there's nothing on the official schedule, but what I can tell you is that having the U.S. president stay on a holiday Easter weekend is certainly unusual. In fact, some would even call this a crisis posture, given the fact that there is that unfolding event, the downed F-15 that is currently in Iran, and the fact that there is a search and rescue operation underway, which the U.S. military has now made a top priority. What this suggests is that there's a need for real-time decision-making on the part of the U.S. president / commander-in-chief of the military, because there is a real possibility of escalation. The low-flying aircraft involved in this search and rescue mission are particularly vulnerable, and as a result, we know the U.S. president may be required to make a decision on further strikes. So this is the type of situation that requires the U.S. president be at the White House, perhaps in the Situation Room.
We don't have air supremacy. We don't have air supremacy. Okay, they're like, yeah, we got air supremacy. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so, Chuck.
Advisors. In the interim, what we are watching carefully is for further updates. The U.S. president, typically quite vocal on social media, has been rather quiet in recent hours. And again, the fact that he is staying here on an Easter weekend is highly unusual.
Kimberly Halkett at the White House, thank you. Let's go to Richard Gaisford now. Richard, you are near West Point Military Academy, considered a very prestigious, America's first military academy. What are families living in the area telling you?
Yeah, this place has been training military leaders, Anna, since 1802 by the banks of the River Hudson. Fair to say it is a tough 4-year course here. And any of those military leaders currently in the Middle East, potentially getting ready for a ground invasion, will have been through that course. And the town that surrounds it, well, it's a very good place to come and gauge public opinion, because almost everybody there either knows someone that works inside, has a link to the military, has family connections in some way, and really desperately watching the news at the moment, wanting to know whether those troops will eventually go in or not. And as you'll hear, actually, there's very few, if any, people that we've spoken to who would go on camera that believe that would be a good idea.
This is so fun.
I just think it's a really big waste of time, honestly, and it's just causing more drama when we don't need it, honestly. We have so many problems here.
So putting boots on the ground would worry you?
Yes, definitely. It'd be an incredible loss of valuable life.
Oh my God.
For no good reason, for a war that didn't have to happen in the first place.
Of course, because I have family that are in the Army. We worry. We want them all to come home safely. You know, war is bad, and it shouldn't happen.
I do have a brother in the Marines, though.
So you must worry.
Yeah.
Some would say that.
And if he were to tell you that he was on his way into Iran, what would you think?
I sound like helium
It
drunk.
would be unfortunate. It would suck. It would suck, but
It's okay.
hopefully they could, come to an agreement before then, but hopefully no boots on the ground.
Richard, somewhat surprising given the military history of the town and the people who live there. What was your main takeaway from those conversations?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we have spoken to people who work directly there, who wouldn't go on camera, who were perhaps more in favour of military action. But almost everyone we've spoken to, Anna, is really concerned about boots on the ground because, for many of them, they're not entirely clear about what the objectives of this mission would be. And I think that is the issue. And of course, at the moment, the death toll in terms of those killed in action for US military forces stands at 13. It is thought that that number would go much higher
13. It's more like 700.
The US decide that a ground invasion is necessary. And that is part of the political decision that the president is going to have to take, knowing, having heard those kind of voices that you just heard there from around the West Point Training Academy, that people are worried about it and may take a dim view if this isn't a mission that has been really well thought through.
Richard Gaisford joining us from near the West Point Military Academy in upstate New York. Thank you. The US and Israeli war against Iran is now in its second month with no clear end in sight. President Trump's repeatedly said America's involvement will go on for a few more weeks. But with thousands more US soldiers being deployed by sea and by air, it's heightening speculation about a looming ground war. Lucia Newman reports from Washington, D.C.
Wow.
The USS Tripoli, an amphibious assault ship, is now in the Middle East, joined by the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit, bringing U.S. fighting forces in the Iranian operations theater to above 50,000. But what for? Donald Trump had said no to a ground war, and then he said he couldn't rule out boots on the ground. But then no one can accuse the U.S. president of never changing his mind.
But we're not ready to leave yet. We'll be leaving in pretty much the very near future.
With the Iran conflict now in its 5th week, the commander of U.S. Central Command visited U.S. troops in the Middle East, further raising speculation about a military escalation.
Okay, how many missions have you flown?
This is one of many memorials in Washington, D.C., honoring U.S. soldiers who died in combat, in this case in the Korean War. It was not officially declared a war, even though it cost almost 37,000 American lives. It was followed by other conflicts like Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghanistan. And in all those cases, the results did not go as planned for the United States. Trump is reportedly under pressure from Republican hawks and allies like Israel and Saudi Arabia to launch ground operations. Iran's Speaker of Parliament says they're, quote, waiting for American soldiers to enter on the ground so they can rain fire upon them. The U.S. threat of a land assault may be designed to pressure Iran to seek a settlement. But should there be a ground operation, the risks of a prolonged conflict are enormous. Iran is not Venezuela. Its well-trained armed forces number 420,000, not to mention its 185,000-strong Revolutionary Guard and a 600,000 paramilitary force.
They have 600,000 paramilitary.
Anything short of a quick and decisive victory would send petrol prices soaring further, angering American voters ahead of the all-important midterm elections. A high military, political, and economic price tag that President Trump may or may not be willing to pay. Lucia Newman, Al Jazeera, Washington.
From troop deployments to questions about strategy and intent, American news outlets are split on whether the US is positioning for escalation or signalling restraint. Let's go back to Manny Rapalo in the newsroom with more on how the story's being reported.
This is the picture we're getting from the U.S. news sphere, and it's all...
I bet I can speak in a British accent, and you guys will love it. Oh, yes. You'll love this British accent. It's so great.
about how far the United States is willing to go in its conflict with Iran. There's been a lot of debate, a lot of speculation in this regard, particularly over the deployment of U.S. troops.
The U.S. and Iran continue to threaten each other as thousands of U.S. forces arrive in the Middle East.
The Trump administration is sending more military forces to the Middle East, while at the same time claiming Iran has asked for a ceasefire, a claim Iranian officials say is not true.
Yeah, this is the trick. They lie some more, and they lie some more. Right? Okay. We got it. Let's go.
These troops are sent in. If there are now boots on the ground, is that going to extend this timeline?
Okay, here's where the debate begins to split. Some say U.S. troops are a tactical preparation for a ground invasion of Iran. Others argue that they're being used as a coercive diplomatic tool to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. This is the New York Post. Trump tells Post war against Iran won't last much longer. Strait of Hormuz will reopen automatically after U.S. exit. This reporting goes on to say Trump's remarks on potential U.S. military actions can't necessarily be taken at face value, and he has used public deception before to give Tehran a false sense of security. Now, this is a theme that we're seeing here. This is Aaron Cohen speaking on Fox Business. Take a listen.
Everybody's saying boots on the ground, boots. So this is all signaling. This is deterrence, and this is what I call optionality. So the troop buildup that we're seeing right now, I want to be very clear. This is not an invasion. It's about giving President Trump options, and people don't have exposure to these classified options here.
What do you mean, bro?
When you move a rapid deployment force and position assets like the Tripoli, the 82nd Airborne Special Operations assets, it's building what's called a flexible strike posture.
Now, it's worth noting that there is a whole other way of thinking here. Let's head over to USA Today with this headline: Americans don't want U.S. troops in Iran. It asks the question, will Trump care? It goes on to say, avoiding a lengthy war with Iran seems to be the only thing many Americans agree on right now. Now, despite the different perspectives, the same question is being asked across the news. Are U.S. forces being deployed to end the war, or could they be marching into a deeper one?
Well, that's the question many more will be asking today. Joining us to discuss is Alex Fatanga, Senior Fellow and Iran Program Director at the Middle East Institute, and Joel Rayburn, a former senior US diplomat. Thank you both for coming in. Alex, I'll start with you. Does the downing of a jet lay the brick, or the final brick in the path, for moving on to a ground incursion?
Really difficult for me to say at this point. I would say I don't think this is a turning point in terms of the military campaign, But the big question for me is whether it's going to result in a new sort of political realities here in the United States in the sense of creating more sort of opposition basically to this war, particularly in the Republican Party. Because if that doesn't happen, the downing of a war is unfortunate, downing of aircraft, as unfortunate as it is, obviously is to be expected in a war that's now lasted 5 weeks.
Yeah, Joel, right? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Is this a turning point in the conflict?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it won't have any impact on the military campaign. That's the kind of thing that the military has to plan for. It's quite remarkable, actually. There's been well over 10,000 sorties, far more than that if you combine the U.S. and Israeli air forces, with as little loss or danger to the aircraft that have happened so far. So I think it's not something that's unfortunately unexpected. Militarily, it won't make any difference at all.
Militarily, it won't make a difference, but obviously, militarily is only one perspective, and there, as president, will be other considerations that Donald Trump will have to measure when deciding whether this is a point at which to put boots on the ground. Is that a fair assessment? And what I mean is public opinion. There is still a missing crew member.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's obviously very important, and that might shape the president's calculations. But fundamentally, I think, despite the build-up, the president is still hoping for that diplomatic, off-ramp to present itself. And obviously, here he needs the help of the Iranians. And I'm not getting a sense that he's willing to meet them halfway. And I think that's obviously the magical moment. If you can meet them halfway, if the U.S. softens its position on the 15 points that the U.S. put out there, the Iranians have to soften their 5 points. There is actually a middle ground there in terms of the core interest, which, just reminding everybody, the core interest is no Iranian nuclear bomb. If that's the core issue, I can see some kind of diplomatic track being able to perhaps work in that direction.
It's a fair point. But Joel, I want to bring up something Alex just mentioned then, and he said the president will still be looking for that off-ramp. Does this present a problem then? Because Iran, it would be not unreasonable to assume we'll see this as somewhat of a victory, being able to down a jet, and as at the moment, only one crew member found.
First, can I say, I don't think that the downing of an aircraft on the interior of Iran will have any bearing on the president's decision to use or not use ground troops. That'll be focused on whether they're required, I think, to secure the Persian Gulf and Strait of Hormuz. I don't think the president's looking for an off-ramp. I think if there's if there's a capitulation from Tehran where he can meet his 15 points without having to continue the war, then he would probably take that. But barring that, I think he's comfortable. I think the military commanders are comfortable that they're going to be able to get to that point using just military means.
Okay. Iran's leadership has been just as vocal as America's in trading fiery words, with a military spokesman warning any escalation is a waste of time.
اطلاعات شما از توان و قدرت نظامی و تجهیزات ما ناقص است.
The sites you believe you have targeted are insignificant, and our strategic military production takes place in locations you are completely unaware of, and you will never be able to reach them. We will save you the trouble. Do not count our missiles, drones and strategic equipment, because you will certainly be mistaken and get nowhere.
Joel, I'll come to you. Is sort of rhetoric like that forcing America into a position?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it has any bearing on U.S. decision-making at all. Listen, there's an entire military reality that's playing out. The U.S. military has been, and the Israeli military too, uncharacteristically, has been quite tight on the operational security. So there's a lot of operational details, battle damage assessments that are not getting into the public. It's a very one-sided military contest right now, and President Trump and other decision-makers have that full assessment. So that's what's driving their decision making.
The issue is in asymmetrical warfare, it doesn't look one-sided though, does it? And public perception does play a huge role in ultimately shifting perception on how a president who has to compete politically and domestically for his future.
In the information sphere, you're absolutely right. It's the one front where the Iranians are essentially matching us. On the military side, they aren't.
Alex, I'll ask you, I mean, you seem to be nodding your head a few times there.
Well, look, the Iranian side has pretty much from day one said they're not expecting to win this war militarily. Yeah. Win for them strategically is make this war so costly for the United States and Israel that they don't come back in 6 months' time and try this again. That's how they measure success.
So then when you say not winning it militarily, we do see the movement of troops. There are now 50,000, and it pales in comparison to Iranian troops if you are talking about a ground incursion. What then is the message being sent by the US by sending 50,000 troops into the region?
Look, the Iranian side should take him seriously, President Trump, because if you think this is just posturing, then I think you might be misreading the American president. He might actually escalate. I think this week's speech by the president suggested strongly that that is something he is willing to consider. And he, mentioned wars that had lasted years. He mentioned Vietnam War and so on. So maybe he's preparing the American public opinion for a protracted conflict. But militarily, I still have doubts and questions whether he has made up his mind on the ultimate prize, regime change through the use of American force, which to me ultimately means occupying Iran, which is something that would be requiring hundreds of thousands of troops in a long conflict. Again, I just don't know if the president is willing to go there.
Yeah. Joel, what do troops in the region then do from your perspective? Is it a matter of leverage or is it a clear intent?
Well, I think there's absolutely zero chance that President Trump is going to order a massive 2003-style invasion of Iran. The kind of forces that are in motion to the Middle East or already there in the Middle East, the ground forces, these are Marines, these are the 82nd Airborne. These are highly specialized units. They're trained and equipped to do things like seize islands and seize vessels and to take port infrastructure. This is not the kind of force that you would assemble to do a massive sweep into Iran. And that's just not in the cards. And it's not necessary to achieve President Trump's strategic goals.
Okay. Does even sending troops into the region, Alex, give the indication that you are preparing to extend the conflict?
Sure. I mean, I want to go back to what Joel said. I agree, but going back to the strategic end mission, I still
but what is America going to gain? I think this is just for Israel. That's it. Just for Israel. TCCN does not support this kind of propaganda. We are done. The neo-colonialism must continue. That's right. We don't support Trumpism.
still don't know what success would look like for President Trump. He might have one in his mind. He hasn't certainly articulated it. And I can tell you, when I look at it, in terms of where we were before this war, the nuclear issue was a problem. It's still pretty much a problem. The enriched uranium is still out there. The ballistic missiles still being fired. The proxies are still pretty much alive. And we have added one other problem, the Strait of Hormuz. And if you send troops to clear the way for controlling the Strait of Hormuz, I don't know if 50,000 troops going to do it, because all Iran needs to do is to be able to fire off a drone or missile from somewhere in that vast territory that's called Iran. And that might just stop the flow of traffic for indefinite. And again, so how do you, if you're a United States president, how can you come out of that and say that was a win just because I am posturing militarily?
Those concerns being echoed by the likes of Democratic senators like Richard Blumenthal, who says the future direction of the war is not clear enough to justify a potential escalation that could result in the loss of more American lives.
The fuck?
My questions have been unanswered.
Let me tell you something. It's real clear when I roll up on someone with my drone and steal their fucking gold loot and run away. That's clear. Okay? None of this is clear like that whatsoever. That's right, folks. It's not clear. There's no clearness here. Okay? No. Not clear. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? It's not clear. Okay? Holy crap, that's good. This face thing on the iPhone is insane. The way it fucks with your face and puts a, like, mesh over it that you now transfer to this face. Holy shit. Okay. That's cool. Alright, boys. Continue. Special guest. Thief.
And
on TCCN. You're the only place to get Tau Ceti news in 2026.
I will demand answers because American people deserve to know. And
you're straight from Tau Ceti.
I guess I am most
That's right.
concerned about the threat to American lives.
We hate to see America going down like this from Tau Ceti, because we got it going on up here. We're chilling. We're running out, hitting the marathon, coming back. You guys are suffering. We got the loots.
Potentially deploying our sons and daughters on the ground in Iran.
I see why people do this now.
Joel, what kind of extension to this conflict is palatable?
Well, I think it depends. Let me answer it a different way. I mean, you have to weigh, as a national security strategist, you have to weigh the costs of action. You have to weigh those against the cost of inaction. So the fact that the Iranian regime was still wreaking havoc in the region, they were engaged in an active war in several countries, they were building a ballistic missile arsenal. I mean, this was something that couldn't be ignored.
No, they weren't doing shit. They're just being defensive and building alliances with whatever groups were around them. Some of those were Hezbollah, yes, etc. But Netanyahu funded his own terrorist groups back in the day. So what are we talking about? I don't even know, Chet.
And other means weren't really sufficing. So I think what we couldn't. The cost of letting that continue to fester to a point where the Iranian regime was just sort of impregnable because of its ballistic missile deterrent and drone deterrent, I think it's something that it meant the time was not a luxury.
Sure, but that's not the choice being made now, is it? Because the conflict has now begun. The choice is between two different things. It is to continue or find an off-ramp.
I think I'm just my personal judgment without any inside information. I don't think President Trump intends to leave the Strait of Hormuz under the effective control of the Iranian regime by the end of this conflict. I think he intends to take it probably by force. The kind of forces he's moving into the region would enable him to.
Are you insane, dude? He cannot stop them from controlling the strait. Like, all they need to do is go one missile. One single. These tankers don't have armor. What are they going to do? Escort every single. Oh, that's what they're going to do. Oh. They're going to take Carg Island, and then they're going to go, like, in there with the battleships and escort all of our tankers through, right? Under the barrage of Iranian missiles, because what do they have to lose? Like, what are they, stupid? This is the dumbest. There's no plausible way to make this happen that he's talking about. It's a fucking lie.
Actually do that. So I don't think there's any chance he leaves what is essentially a militarily defeated regime still getting a strategic win by being able to assert control over that strait.
That is a different perspective that we haven't talked much about. Alex, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, look, I just want to go back. I think if you occupy 1/3 of southern Iran still be able to position to warn off those ships and tankers and keep the traffic away. If that's the core objective here, the way to do it is either to get rid of the Islamic Republic in its entirety, or seek some kind of diplomatic resolution where Iran says no more are they going to be, creating trouble around the strait.
The Secretary of Defense has said all options are still on the table, but not forever.
President Trump will make a deal he is willing, and the terms of the deal are known to them. If Iran is not willing, then the United States War Department will continue with even more intensity.
Alex, Pete Hegseth used the word intensity. Now, he's not delivering a message to Iran. That message is to the American domestic audience. What does intensity mean when he is telling them that?
That's a great question. I don't actually have an answer. I'm looking at all the targets that haven't been hit. Over 13,000 by the most recent report I saw. 13,000 targets in about 5 weeks. That's a lot.
Bro, do you like demons? Yo, do you like demons?
I like demons.
That's funny. You could just drag this fucking this shit back and forth like that? Holy shit. That's kind of cool. Alright, bro. Alright, bro. I just need, like, a robot. Ooh, that might be it. Alright. There's a little bit of snowman on that. Let's go.
What's left to hit at this point? And the president
from TCCN on the worst voice ever. That's right. It's terrible. Okay, chat. I'm just playing. We're gonna drag this up. There we go. Okay, we don't need that foment. How about we film it? We can film it?
Yeah, we're gonna foment some sound.
That's right. We're fomenting the sound. That's what that's called. Hey, girls. Hey, girls.
Hey, girls. Hey, girl. Hey, girls. Okay, there we go. Now I sound like a girl. It doesn't work.
As a warning,
I have
you
such
know,
a deep
that
voice.
Iranian civilian
Impossible.
infrastructure might be hit. I don't know if that's just,
It's
again,
impossible,
posturing,
Lord.
bluster on his part, if he's going to go down there. Because
Alright,
one
chat.
thing that
Next
would
video.
really
This is
upset a
boring.
lot of folks, particularly.
Sorry. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
Hi, I'm Greg Guthrie.
Loser!
Kennedy, Harold Ford Jr., Jesse Waters, and the last time she did an Easter egg hunt, she ended up on a milk carton. Dana Perino.
What the fuck did you just say? What'd you say, bro? What did you say?
Democrats are losing their minds after President Trump
yeah.
laid out his next steps in Iran last night. Trump
We're
telling
losing our
Americans
mind.
the end is near. We just need a few more.
Yeah, he had so much to say. It's crazy. Yeah, he was like really spitting. He was really spitting, Jesse. Yeah, he was spitting hard. And you were like hard, I bet you. Yep, he was. We know it. We know it. We know he was getting all fucking stiffy. That's right, he was getting stiffy. Because he was like, yep, it's the way to go. Right?
Weeks of blowing stuff up.
It's time to blow
We
shit
are
up.
on track to complete all of America's military objectives shortly, very shortly.
Chat.
We're going
I can't
to
take any
hit
more
them
of this fucking
extremely
loser.
hard over the next 2
We're
to
gonna
3 weeks.
lose harder
We're going
than
to
we've
bring
ever
them
lost
back to this.
before. That's right. We're gonna lose so bad. No one will know how bad we're losing. Because we'll be losing so bad.
Stone Ages, where they belong. Every
That's funny.
American can look forward to a
That's
day
right.
when we are finally free from the wickedness of Iranian aggression and the
Oh,
specter
yeah.
of nuclear black.
Oh yeah, nuclear blackmail. Millions of years away from a fucking nuclear weapon that could reach us. It's like, what are you fucking talking about, bro? Get the fuck out of here, okay? Yeah, you heard me. Like,
well,
But Democrats
Some
started
bullshit.
complaining before 47 even took the podium.
47.
So I'm not going to be able to watch
That's
the
the
president's
best number
address
ever.
tonight. But here's the thing. He
Some would say.
brought America into a war that people
Yes,
do
he
not
did.
want.
It was concise, intelligent.
Yeah, he said, I'm anti-war. That's right, guys, I'm anti-war. No worries. I hate new wars. I'll continue the war that's been going on for 200 years, but it won't be new. What a loser. Fucking Trump. Fuck you. TCCN does not support Trump.
And brought the nation together with shared purpose.
We support Stalin loot only.
April Fools.
Really, he sounded and looked
That's
quite
right.
old, quite low energy, quite exhausted.
Yes, because he did. He said some stuff that was like the same shit he said before. Right? It's like, what the fuck?
Just more magical thinking that an aerial
Yeah.
reign of terror
I
on
get my
Iran
hands in
is
here, too.
somehow going
Sunday.
to
That's
solve the problem that we created.
He's senile and he's downright sleepy.
Every weekend.
We know
they make
nothing more
progress.
about that after this ridiculous, rambling speech.
But those loudmouths missed the point. Trump wasn't talking to you, dummies.
If you're someone who has not been
He wasn't
paying close
talking
attention
to
or
us.
not listening directly to the president, yes,
wasn't
it probably
talking to
did
anyone. He was
provide
talking to
you
the
some sense
toilet
of a
in the
refresh. But for
bathroom.
those that have been
That's what he was doing.
following this closely here in the United
He was talking to the toilet in the bathroom. That's right. He was in the bathroom talking to the toilet. You guys, you gotta understand. We're winning so hard. That's right. You turds in the toilet, you gotta understand how hard we're winning. Cause you're actually not in my asshole anymore. That's right. He's like, that's right. That's gonna be my fucking speech. Literally, that's how bad it was. Fuck you, Trump.
States around the world, there wasn't much new in this address.
You know what's
Nothing
funny,
new.
Dana, is when I was watching, I was like, oh yeah, this isn't for me.
Oh.
You know, we live
Who's
and
it for
breathe through
then,
this
bitch?
stuff 8 or 9 hours a day. But ironically, it is for people like Kamala, who
Oh,
don't know
for
what the hell's
Kamala.
going on, and she didn't even watch.
I think that is-
Ungrateful.
Right. Well, and also it shows it that she had already made up her mind what the speech was going to be before she even heard it.
Yeah.
Of
So,
course.
and that is not good for a healthy democracy. It's
What?
not good for civic conversation, and it's not good for somebody who
She's
is
not
apparently
relevant
still wants to be in some
anyway.
sort of leadership
You guys
there.
know that.
I thought one of the most important things for the
They
speech
know that.
was, yes, talking to people who aren't online all the time, because President Trump does post a lot on Truth Social and then on X. He says a lot of those same things during the day when people are working, and he's live on cable. He does a lot of interviews like with the press. But if you are out there living your life, finishing work, getting home, making sure the kids get to soccer practice, getting home, and then cleaning, making sure they brush their teeth, go to bed, and then you might catch 20 minutes of the news. And then, of course, you have to watch Gutfeld. You might not exactly feel that you have an understanding as to why are we in Iran and why is gas prices up $1.25 over a month ago. So he did have to talk to them. The other thing that was important in the speech is talking about future generations. So he thinks, I believe, in a longer time frame, as I believe most parents do. I'm not a parent, but I get to sit with many of you. And of course, your thoughts are with how is this going to affect my children on every issue? AI, whatever it is, all of these issues, the debt, taxes, how is it going to affect my children? And he addressed that as well.
Yes,
the
you have
media
grandkids.
is obsessed with the
Oh, we
timeline,
know.
partly because he is. He keeps
Don't
saying
worry.
2 to 3 weeks, 4 weeks. He's saying we've won, it's over, but it's just a few more weeks, etc. He's malleable on that. I think that's fine. But the media wants a specific timeline, and he is not going to satiate their needs by saying, yes, absolutely, by next Wednesday it's over.
Right.
I can say that.
They don't deserve a timeline. You know, Harold, I was shocked when you said in the green room, you couldn't have done a better speech than that. And you were like speechless, literally.
It is good to be back around the table with everybody. It seems like it's been a month. It's good to see Jesse. I haven't seen him in a while.
Really?
What about me?
I saw you guys right before.
Wow, Harold.
I know, but I hadn't seen Jesse even the week before that. It's good to be with you. I'd say a couple things.
He sucks.
I think more people pay attention to war than we think. Do they know?
He's right about
have they been
that,
paying
though.
attention to it like we have? Probably not.
Yeah.
Dana touched on why it is really impacting and why I think a lot of people have been watching is
That's it.
because they've seen the
Can't see
price
my
of
dad
gas
anymore.
rise
want it.
in the last
On the
month
close-up.
by $1.10 on average.
There we go.
And if you're not buying the high-end gas or the whatever the top level gas is you're seeing as you're driving around wherever you may live, $4.50, $5. Some people even on the West Coast, $6 and $7 for a gallon of gas. Democrats and Republicans both pay the same amount for gas. Republicans don't get a break because there's a Republican president. Democrats don't get a break because their party's yelling about things.
So.
We're all dealing with that. And I think that many Americans understand that too. The president should have given this speech 4 weeks ago.
He run for
as
president.
much as I listened to the speech and I've been following it, I didn't hear, not only did I not hear a lot of new there.
I guarantee it.
I didn't hear, I think it's wrong. I think you're right, Dana and Greg, you said we can't provide an end date. But what I did not hear was a strategy. And I keep asking for that. Not that I want to know every iteration, every unfolding of what we're going to do, but the president rightly praised the military execution. I mean, it's expected almost now that our execution of our military exercises are flawless from all the times the president's been in office from 4 years ago to...
We just fucking lost. We've already lost more dollar amounts than we did in the whole Afghanistan, something like that. I don't know.
And now we've never had a time when they were not flawless. I'm happy that is the case. We had concerns about DEI perhaps diminishing our military. In fact, it did not. It maybe even helped. That's another conversation. The real issue here is the Strait of Hormuz. The president made clear last night that we're going to leave and the other countries should step up and do their part to open it. I remind all of us, and Dana has certainly commented on this in the past, we both know this is a global market, oil is. You don't get to pick and choose the price of where you're going to buy it because it's set by a global marketplace.
Yeah, guys, I just put my makeup on wrong today. That's all it is. I just had a nightmare, and so I put my eye makeup supposed to be above my eye, below my eye. So it didn't work. The robot just puts it on, you know? Didn't work. Yeah.
We shouldn't kid ourselves. The president is most interested in this, in talking about this as much as he does, and shifting a little bit the narrative because the American.
I know it's the first time I've been on the 7 channel, but I didn't want to let him down. So I came on anyway, even though my makeup wasn't the best. Okay, chat? So forgive me. I know I keep harping, but that way I look at myself, I look kind of freaky. I'm supposed to be this freaky. It's kind of freaking me out.
People are paying more at the pump. And if there is ever an issue in my lifetime that has determined or dictated more political outcomes than the price of gas, I'd be happy for someone to inform and educate me what that might be. Finally, Democrats, don't applaud the lack of the fact that there's not a clear narrative here. We are all Americans here, and we will all have to deal with the repercussions and ramifications of whatever happens or whatever does not happen. I don't like that part of the politics of it. And both sides are guilty of it. My party is probably a little more guilty right now because the president is struggling.
Bro, shut
If
up.
the president wants America and all of us to rally around him, you got to figure out how you reach not only a military strategy, but how you bring about a diplomatic and, for that matter, resolution to this matter.
Did you hear that, Jesse, where he snuck in the president is struggling? Do you think that's the case? I think this is a he knows.
I didn't mean to sneak that in. I meant that frontally. I'm sorry. I wasn't sneaking that.
I think that he is well aware that the price of gas goes up, but he's playing a longer game.
And he's asking for patience.
That's not
and
what?
The public will give him that patience.
He's playing 10D chess. That's right, 10D chess. No one's ever heard of this 10D chess. It has 5 layers, 5 levels, and 5 undergrounds. And he's just underground right now. It's the hard part. It's where you don't really know what's happening, but then in the end, he ends up at the top. And he is the king, still standing when the chess game is over. That's right, 10D chess. What the fuck are we talking about? Every single person in the fucking army probably told him this was bullshit and he shouldn't do it. Like, we know this. That's why some of them quit and one of them got fired.
But only after
what the fuck is this guy
maybe
yapping
1 or
about?
2 more, 3 more
Nothing.
weeks. Well, I listened to the chattering class, Greg. Are we in the chattering class, by the way?
No, not me.
Not us.
Oh yeah, we're chattering, all right. We're the chattering class. Okay.
We're actually number 1 in the chattering.
Well, the chattering class said the president was low energy. What did they want him to do?
Dude, he was low ass energy. He was like falling asleep. I want to tell you guys how great we're winning. And I want to fall asleep while I tell you this. Are my eyes open? I can't tell. That's what he was doing. God damn.
YMCA? I mean, it's in the Oval Office address at 9 o'clock.
Bro, you know
is the gay
what
national
he
anthem.
looks like when he's a great awake.
Excuse me.
And they covered for Joe Biden, who was not low
They
energy.
never called Joe low energy once, so that's just crazy. So it's designed to be reassuring and informative. And it's for, as you mentioned, Dana, the people that watch Survivor.
You're boring. You're fucking boring. Oh no, a teenage wasteland.
So we're going to focus here because tomorrow, Good Friday for Christians around the world, it's also Passover. This holiday weekend sometimes can be 3 days for people. And look at what happens on some weekends. Teenage takeovers. That out of Chicago, taking the country by storm, wreaking havoc.
That's right. Everyone there was under 18. 19, sorry. No one was 20. That's how we know it was a teenage takeover and not just a regular takeover. That's right. We gotta put the teenage in. You gotta have the teenage because if you don't,
and putting others at risk. A mob
Then you're
damaged
putting
nearly 30
others
cars
at
as they
risk.
descended on
That's
the
right.
city's Hyde Park neighborhood. Beautiful
said it.
area, by the way.
Not me.
Jumping on rooftops and breaking windshields, one person arrested there. Washington, D.C. also
don't
has
break the
seen
law,
teenage takeover
dummies.
chaos. The city council postponed.
oh no, you guys are all like, yeah, you know, this generation really sucks. We used to go on our bikes, all BMX ride biking until dark. And then when the dark came, if we weren't home, we got spanked big time by our dad. We want to go back to that time. And now the kids are out in the streets running around having fun. And your guys are like, hey, these teenagers need to go to jail. We need to prosecute and hang these teenagers because they're taking over. Taking over what? What are they taking over? What the fuck?
To vote on extending its emergency curfew, which means it's now really set to expire this month. U.S. Attorney for the district.
Oh no. It's teenagers taking over the streets and having car shows. Oops! Someone died. It's like, who cares? Fuck off. Go back to sleep, bitch.
Janine Pirro says that is a horrifically bad idea.
It's her.
They don't believe.
That's right, it's her. We saw this yesterday on the 7 channel featuring TCCN. By the way, special guest here, Thief. I'm so happy to be here. It was hard. It took 23 days, as you can see, to get me to come. They invited me, but I wasn't ready. So I'm ready now, almost.
That these young people need to be treated as criminals. They are.
See what I mean? She wants to hang him. She would be like Israel and be like, yeah, death penalty for all the teenage takeover enjoyers. Anyone who is an enjoyer of the teenage takeover needs to be hung. That's right. We're going to do it. She would do it. She is a fascist. This is disgusting. And she was complaining yesterday about how, oh, I can't, in the same thing, if they don't show it. She was like, oh, I just can't get these kids because they're teenagers. And no one wants to prosecute a teenager like an adult. It's like, yeah, they're teenagers. Their prefrontal cortices aren't fully developed. It's like, what the fuck? And she's like, well, I don't care about science. I think that's wrong. Watch.
Committing adult crimes. There can be shootings and carjackings and robberies and all kinds of crime. And then all of a sudden, we're surprised to see them committing a murder. The DC Council.
She's saying there, basically, that if you're a carjacker, you're going to turn into a murderer. That, like, because, you know, of course, if you're a carjacker, you're going to turn into a murderer. It's just the way it happens. Every single carjacker is always murdered. Right? It's bullshit. Ass crack bullshit.
Protects these kids, and they are creating.
Yeah, that's what it was created for. To protect the kids from being prosecuted and sent to jail when their prefrontal cortexes had not been fully developed. Are we delusional, Delulu? Janine Pirro, the worst fucking U.S. attorney ever for D.C.
The criminal violence that doesn't allow us as prosecutors to go in and treat them as the criminals that they are.
This is Outnumbered. I'm Harris Faulkner, here with my co-host Kayleigh McEnany. Also joining us today, Laura Trump, host of My View with Laura Trump.
Oh, my favorite girls.
And Rosanna Scotto, Fox 5 New York anchor and host of The Underground Economy on Fox Nation. Guy Benson is here, Fox News political analyst and host of The Guy Benson Show on Fox News Radio. Well, this trend is spreading to major cities, small towns alike, even Glendale, Wisconsin, where more than a dozen spring breakers were arrested when a mob invaded a mall and started multiple fights.
They've been obsessed with this teenage thing. It's like, half these teenagers are probably MAGA. Like, they're not leftist mobs or something. It's just funny how they're like, yeah, these kids these days, right? Yeah. It's like, what are they doing? Taking over. They're doing this takeover thing. It's like, yeah. We never drove the streets when we were kids. Oops. And, you know, cruised the block. Famously. Never done that when we were younger. I thought we wanted to go back to the days when you could cruise the block. I thought we had 1950s nostalgia. I thought that's what I don't understand.
Wisconsin lawmakers were warning they couldn't just shrug this incident off.
Okay.
Well, it seems like, Laura, that this is a no-brainer, right? This shouldn't be hard to adjudicate. You heard Jeannie Hero there, U.S. Attorney for the district.
Allergies are bad.
The D.C. district.
Sorry, Chad.
What do you think is the inertia around consequences here?
That's right.
Well, I think consequences, that is the key word of all of this. And I think this is a symptom.
Like, I just want to get back. I just want to get up to the marathon and start looting, so it's kind of hard to be down here with you guys. But, you know, anything for you, chat?
Of a bigger problem, which is that there's been very little accountability when it comes to criminals in general, especially in blue areas around this country.
Bro, this is such a bullshit argument, especially coming from a Trump. Shut up. Get off. Like, yeah, this is not biased news at all, right? It's just all totally objective. Yeah.
Look at a place like Washington, D.C., where you have Muriel Bowser saying, I want that curfew in place. You saw crime drop whenever law enforcement was actually able to do their job. When President Trump brought in the National Guard, crime fell throughout the bottom there. And the problem is you have so many of these kids understanding they won't be tried as adults. They're going to be tried as juveniles. They're not going to have any accountability. They see adults going without consequences as it is. So what do you expect to happen? We need a dose of tough love for these kids. They need to be held accountable because this is their future.
The video I'm seeing, I see kids running. What? There's too many kids in one area at a time? Is that a problem? They're enjoying themselves too much? Are people dying? Are they robbing stores? Yeah, those people probably should get arrested under the current laws. I don't necessarily agree, because I'm an anti-capitalist, but so be it.
This is the future of our country, Harris. But sadly, this is the case in so many areas around America.
So you mentioned her. D.C. Mayor Bowser says, quote, I am deeply disappointed by the council's decision to allow the juvenile curfew zones to expire. As adults, we cannot abdicate our responsibility to respond to behaviors that put young people or our community at risk. I urge the council to reconsider. So you've got the mayor there, Guy.
The mayor is less left-wing than the city council.
And I say
and this is an important point. Mayor Bowser, I live in the D.C. area, has not been a good mayor. There's been a real regression in D.C. over the last decade plus in a lot of ways. But she is less damaging policy-wise than the very left-wing city council. She announced a few months ago she is not going to seek re-election this year. So there'll be a new mayor in D.C. And I think it's important to remember it can always get worse. Here is Mayor Bowser begging for this curfew to stay in place. She's being overruled, apparently, by this left-wing council. And if you don't think you can downgrade from a Muriel Bowser in D.C., I offer you Exhibit Johnson, Brandon in the city of Chicago after Lori Lightfoot. It can get worse if voters decide to make it so.
Rosanna?
I was just going to say, you know, these are social media events for these kids. They're dying to be around their friends. So they see this stuff on social media, they go, and you know it's going to get out of hand. All it takes is one person to come up with a bad idea, and it's going to go dangerously wrong. We had this in New York City a few years ago. Kai Sennett, a big social media star, promised a giveaway in Union Square. The next thing you know, thousands of young kids descended on Union Square. They were jumping on cars, buses, throwing stuff at police, property damage. I mean, these kind of situations are just, they need to be controlled because somebody is really
There's a
going to lose
bunch of
their life.
kids in a
And
field
something that
in
is-
the middle of the night
that's
with
meant
cops
to bring young
around.
people together.
Oh, no.
I think you're
The
being
horror.
kind. I don't think they do it because they want to be around their friends. They're around a bunch of strangers. They don't even know these people.
I feel like they're
they do
looking
it to
for
flex and get attention.
Well, I think part of it is these kids want to be social media stars.
Right.
And this
Attention
might be
and flex.
their
my
entree
point.
into that.
It's their flex.
Now, let me offer you another exhibit guy. Zoran, Mamdani, or maybe Mamdani, Zoran. We went from Eric Adams to a full-on, full-blown socialist. So here we are in New York City. It can get worse. Case in point, where we are sitting. But let me look at the left writ large here. I was reading the Chicago mayor, to whom you
Look at the
referred,
writ
Brandon
large.
Johnson. He has said, because
writ
it's also
large.
happening in Chicago, these street takeovers, he said that it's reckless and irresponsible. And I thought to myself, I remember what Brandon Johnson used to say. I remember when he quibbled with a reporter for using the term mob. I remember when Brandon Johnson said, quote, "It's important that we speak of these dynamics in the appropriate way. This is not to obfuscate what's actually taken place, but we have to be very careful when we use language to describe certain behavior." And he went on to essentially defend these juveniles by quibbling over the nomenclature. And then I look past that, and I look at what's happening in D.C., and it's the same kind of insidious ideology on the left, and it is pervasive, because you had the D.C. Attorney General, Schwab, his name is Brian Schwab, this was 2 years ago, say, kids are kids. So that was his defense of juvenile crime. Kids are kids, he said. And he said he would not prosecute juveniles as adults. And that would mean, as Heritage Foundation points out, even if they are weeks away from turning 18, he would not prosecute them as adults. And this can have deadly consequences. Look, this didn't happen in a street takeover, but I remember when Mohammed Anwar, a 66-year-old Uber Eats driver, lost his life because a 13 and a 15-year-old girl used a stun gun on him. He lost control of his car, and his body was dragged, and he lost his life. These juveniles need to be held accountable for their reckless behavior and this insidious ideology of kids are kids. It doesn't work, and it's deadly.
So you bring me to the next point that I would ask about, Kaylee, and that is, we know that recidivism is not a way to incentivize good behavior. You only get better at what you do more of, even if it's evil and bad. So if we're not going to give them consequences, then yeah, it's a no-brainer to think that the ramp-up's going to be tougher crime.
I was looking at some of these local reports, and the one that I mentioned about Brandon Johnson, in one case where they were looking at juvenile crime, the juvenile had like 10 crimes on their record. So you have to get serious about this. Yes, kids make mistakes, but when it's over and over and over, people end up getting hurt.
Well, and also, just to add to that as well, there are a lot of these gangs who essentially know these criminal groups who understand that they can go out and find a 15, 16, 17-year-old to commit these crimes. And they say, well, you're not going to be held accountable for it anyway. You can do this, and we can get away with essentially whatever we want because they'll only charge you as a juvenile. And that is also a big problem. If you don't have any accountability for those kids, this is just going to be a never-ending cycle.
Well, and they get mentored by the other criminals that are hardened and don't want to do the time. Last quick thought.
There's no
criminals are going to abuse the system.
They're teenagers.
And if you teach a lesson that people at a certain age will never face real consequences, really bad gang members, to your point, will recruit kids exactly that age to commit the most heinous crimes. It's a vicious cycle.
It's a cycle.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern. Or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.
Oh my God, this is pathetic.
Fox News alert, we just struck a major target in Iran. The country's largest bridge right outside the capital. The commander-in-chief saying it came tumbling down, never to be used again. Sources say the bridge was used to secretly transport missiles from Tehran to launch sites. A U.S. defense...
Not true, and they double-tapped this bitch. Like they always do. They were rescuing the people, and they double-tapped. That's right, chat. They double-tapped. And it's like, why? Why do you need to do that? The bridge is already fucking destroyed, so you wait until the fucking ambulances come, and you do a fucking war crime double tap. You do it just like Israel.
This official tells Axios that more bridges are likely to be bombed, as the president sends Iran a warning. Quote, it's time for Iran to make a deal before it's too late, and there's nothing left of what could still become a great country. And we have some big targets on our list.
Oh, do we?
If there is no deal, we are going to hit each and every one of their electric generating plants very hard and probably
Oh my God, he
simultaneously.
said this like 10 times.
We have not hit
Who
their
cares?
oil, even though that's the easiest target of all, because it would
I need
not
more
give
light
them
on my
even
face.
a small chance of survival or rebuilding.
Small chance.
But we could hit it, and it would be gone,
hit it.
and
We
there's
don't
not a thing
really
they
care,
could do
though.
about it.
If they haven't gotten the message, they will soon. To join our expanded fleet of
careless.
Warthogs, more of our F-18 Super Hornets were just seen launching from the USS Abe Lincoln as we conduct dynamic bombing campaigns deep inside of Iran. To help our jets and bombers, our KC-135 Strata tankers and KC-46 Pegasus aircraft have been refueling mid-air to maximize time in the sky. Meanwhile, on the high seas, the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit on board the USS Tripoli have been simulating amphibious assaults. They're right off the coast of Diego Garcia, out in the Indian Ocean. The Marines are available for straight operations if they get the call. Plus, we just got some new toys. The U.S. Army just developed next-generation grenades. It's the first grenade developed since Nam, and it uses shock waves to kill instead of shrapnel. On impact, a blast will rupture everything inside the enemy's body.
Ew.
These would come in handy in close quarters combat on an Iranian island or a port. And more assets are moving into theater. The USS Gerald Ford is just a few days out after repairs in Croatia. The USS Boxer, the ship full of Marines, choppers, and fighter jets still sailing full steam ahead. The president says we're entering the final stage.
I can say tonight that we are on track to complete all of America's military objectives shortly, very shortly.
Happy to hear that.
We're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to bring them back to the Stone Ages where they belong.
Israel's going out with a bang. In 48 hours, they've struck over 400 targets and dropped 650 munitions on the enemy. The IDF eliminated battalion commanders, including the top guy in the regime's ballistic missile unit. These strikes are hitting the mullahs where it hurts the most, in their Persian purses. Overnight, the Israelis struck the Guard's central financial headquarters.
Yeah, not racist. Not racist at all. It's like, what the
funds
fuck,
coming
brother?
out of this building pay for Iran's armed forces and provide billions to their proxies. On top of that, they took out the commander of the regime's oil headquarters. This is what you'd call a hostile work environment. Iran's on the verge of a depression. The Guard's policies have bankrupted the country with high inflation and unemployment. And their stubbornness and nuclear ambition pushed the country into a war against the world's greatest military. To prevent uprisings and cyber warfare, the regime shut the internet off, which then shut off all commerce.
They shouldn't have done that.
The streets are hot. The regime smells a coup coming, and they're going on an execution spree. In the last 2 days, they've killed 4 dissidents. The clock's ticking. They're running out of money and missiles. The only leverage they have left is uranium. And Trump's watching it like a hawk.
Holy shit.
We have it under intense satellite surveillance and control. If we see them make a move, even a move for it, we'll hit them with missiles very hard again. We have all the cards, they have none.
With their air defenses gone, Epic Fury's setting up a softer target. If Iran ever tries to nuke up or rearm, the next president can mow the grass. The main issue is the Strait. If they mine it, we have tools. American Avenger-class minesweepers can take them out one by one. We used these during the Gulf War and destroyed over 1,000 mines off the coast of Kuwait. The Navy's also upgraded our littoral combat ships. Those are the shallow water vessels with 50 caliber machine guns attached. We also have choppers equipped with laser mine detection systems too. And this just in, oil tankers are starting to move through the strait. 3 ships with insurance hugged the coast of Oman and slipped into the Gulf. The Arabs are also feverishly building new pipelines to feed oil into the Red Sea, so the strait can never get held hostage again. Trump seems calm. He's telling the world to just sail back in.
Just chill, bro.
So to those countries that can't get fuel, many of which refuse to get involved in the decapitation of Iran, we had to do it ourselves. I have a suggestion. Number one, buy oil from the United States of America. We have plenty. We have so much. And number two, build up some delayed courage. Should have done it before. Should have done it with us, as we asked. Go to the Strait and just take it, protect it, use it for yourselves.
Macron says that's unrealistic. And to be honest, he's right. The French and the Europeans have been AWOL since World War II. It's America's job to control the water. We're the only country with a real navy. They're out of shape. And instead of getting off the couch,
you pretty much listen to Jesse.
And then the Strait's closed, and they're blaming us instead of the mullahs.
If Jesse says
One White House source told Politico, quote, it's like these mother effers always talk about Article 5. Okay, well, Iran has been blowing up our soldiers and ripping their wings off for, half a century.
What is he talking
And we finally
about?
Responded.
Ripping our wings
and now
off.
they're going
What are we, fucking
after all our
angels?
major non-NATO allies in the United States, and you guys are saying not only you're not going to help, but you're closing your airspace to us? Really?
Yes, because you suck.
Iran was transitioning into North Korea. Bill Clinton had the chance to bomb Pyongyang's nuclear reactors in the 90s, but he backed off and he sent Jimmy Carter to negotiate. They toyed around with Jimmy, and then it was too late. Surprise, surprise, North Korea got a nuke. We were treating Iran the same way. We sent cash, diplomats, love letters. Sanctions went on, sanctions went off. The whole time, Iran raced toward a nuke, and their missile ranges kept growing. They can hit European capitals, and sooner or later, we'd be in range. Last night, the president said he did something that other presidents said they were going to do, but never did: prevent Iran from getting a nuke. But Democrats who knew Iran was cheating and months away from weaponization are rooting against Epic Fury. This was Kamala last night before Trump even spoke. Listen.
Hey, everyone. So I'm not going to be able to watch the president's address tonight. But here's the thing. He brought America into a war that people do not want. And I bet you he's going to try and claim victory tonight. But the reality is we're watching what he does instead of listening to what he says.
We're about to enter week 5. Most analysts believe this has been pure military dominance. CENTCOM Commander Brad Cooper says we're making undeniable progress, and enemy Navy aircraft and defense systems are non-existent. Democrats are saying 33 days in that it's a quagmire. The president says think again.
World War II lasted for 3 years, 8 months, and 25 days. The Vietnam War lasted for 19 years, 5 months, and 29 days. Iraq went on for 8 years, 8 months, and 28 days. We are in this military operation, so powerful, so brilliant, against one of the most powerful countries for 32 days. And the country has been eviscerated and essentially is really no longer a threat.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube. And catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.
Some would say it's the biggest evisceration
Breaking news coming into Fox News Channel. The president has now been briefed on a downed F-15 fighter jet in Iran. This is a U.S. fighter jet. We are also told a statement from CENTCOM is expected shortly. We want to bring in the chief national security correspondent, Jennifer Griffin, with more on this. Jen, what are you hearing?
Well, Trace, we had some details of this alleged downed F-15E fighter jet that went down in southwest Iran. It's in the province that is actually closest to Karg Island, which we've been hearing so much about. We had withheld reporting on this until now because there was an active search and rescue operation ongoing. But now that we've learned that the president has been briefed on the downed F-15, we are getting some details from open source online showing that the actual pilot seat from the F-15 was seen on the ground, suggesting that at least one of the pilots had ejected, and the pilot was not present at that site where the photo was taken. So that suggests that one may have survived at least. There are 2 pilots in an F-15E, and they would have been flying. We see also some open source video showing that there were 2 search and rescue helicopters that were being refueled midair in daylight. That would suggest, again, an urgency to that search and rescue mission because it would be rare to conduct a search and rescue mission with low-flying helicopters over an area that is possibly contested. Given that this happened during the daylight hours, it shows an urgency and a suggestion that the pilots may have survived. Trace?
I know you've worked in that area a very long time, Jennifer. I'm wondering, a lot of some of this information coming through about this search, about, letting the people of Iran know that some pilots might be out there. What do we know about Iranian television? How credible is it, and how much concern is that people are being told to do certain things inside the country?
Well, Iranian media, as you know, Trace, is state-controlled. It is a propaganda network that would have an interest, and we have seen over the last 32 days or so that they have put out multiple times that they had shot down F-35 fighter jets, and it had not been true. That is why it was so important for us to get independent confirmation that this F-15 had in fact gone down. So some of the details that the Iranians are putting out may in fact be propaganda for their purposes, but what we can say at this point is the President of the United States has been briefed on this F-15 going down, and that CENTCOM is expected to put out a statement. So we feel comfortable in reporting the fact that the F-15 did go down. But in terms of the reliability of Iranian state television, it is part of the war effort at this point. Trace?
Yeah, let's bring in Benjamin Hall to the conversation here, because we still don't know how the F-15 went down. We don't know if this was mechanical. We don't know if this was shot down. A lot of things very much unconfirmed right now, Benjamin.
Right. Yeah, that's right. And, in moments like this nowadays, we are actually watching online and we're looking at some of the videos that are coming out. And you have to be really careful, of course, about Iranian state TV. But there have been images coming up of the ejector seat on the ground, so it's clear that appears to have been fired and discharged and no pilot near it. But look, from the beginning of the conflict, we have to remember that the U.S. moved quite carefully over Iran with its airplanes, and it began with sort of the B-2s and some of the higher flying planes as they knocked down to try to get air supremacy, and there was a feeling that air supremacy had been gained at that point, and so it'll be really interesting to see how this plane was shot down. Now, Iranian state TV, and again, their state TV, we must never take anything 100% from them.
How do you think it was? Why don't you theorize? Maybe it was a stinger, because they have Chinese stingers. Hello?
But they also put out a request that if anyone found these pilots, they would offer a reward of $60,000. That's 10 million local currency. Which is something that we haven't seen them say before, even though they have claimed that they've shot down planes before. And so there is a feeling that perhaps they are actively looking for pilots as well. And of course, this is a fear that so many people would have. If those pilots were taken, it changes this conflict in many, many ways. And we do not know at this point what has happened to the pilots, and we're watching very closely. But certainly we know that the US has been out there doing search and rescue as well. We've seen the helicopters in that part of southern Iran. And so, look, we know that there's a search and rescue operation underway. We know that the plane did come down. We know that the President Trump has been briefed, and we're waiting to find out more at the moment.
Benjamin, stand by if you would. Let's bring in Lieutenant Colonel Darren Gobb, retired Black Hawk helicopter pilot, is also a battalion commander. Colonel, you look at the plane and what Benjamin is talking about there, and there's some pictures of the ejection seat on the ground. There's no pilot near it. It's kind of a good news, bad news scenario, meaning that the pilot appears to have survived the ejection because the pilot is not there. Maybe that's speculation. The bad news is that, you have Iranian media warning the people to look for these pilot whatever they find, and offering a $60,000 reward, which is also concerning about what might happen when and if they landed on the ground.
Yeah, Trace. The first thing I guess I'll emphasize here is the fact that when something like this happens, whether it's mechanical failure or an actual shoot down, because of where it's at, this becomes the mission. This is the focus. Regardless of whether we know the status or not, they will try to confirm the status of what is happening with the pilots the entire time. But this will be the focus until they have some sort of resolution on all of this. I've been involved in combat search and rescue and personnel recovery operations, planning and execution side, and I can tell you that the entire CENTCOM area, as well as national assets, go into an operation like this with a very much a layered plan from space down to ground on how to recover pilots from behind enemy lines. And that will be in effect immediately as soon as they get the report. So people watching this.
Sorry, boys, when you see that shit, it's a little network glitch because, you know, coming in from House City, it's a hard network to come through. You can see, like, the guys going to the moon, they got live feeds, but sometimes my feed's gonna go like this.
And know that the military takes it extremely seriously when it comes to recovering pilots who've been shot down or lost behind enemy lines, regardless of how it happens.
Yeah, so you're saying it happens immediately, and I'm wondering, because Jennifer Griffin was talking about, you know, the risk of having low-flying helicopters that might be searching. What else can be done to try and evaluate exactly what happened to the pilots in this case, Colonel?
Let's go.
Well, the pilots will be carrying systems on them that they have the capability to use if they are functioning to send broadcast signals out to let them know the status. And I can't get into that too much in depth. Now, as far as the launching of an aircraft to recover pilots, that will be done after a threat assessment is made to make sure that you're not creating a larger problem by sending in low-flying helicopters in this case. So the notification and the process starts immediately. Launching of recovery assets to pull any pilots out can take a little bit of time depending on what they find out about the situation. But there are multiple different systems that can look at the area and gain both signals and visual intelligence to ensure they do the best they possibly can to know what exactly the pilots are doing. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of this that is in the classified arena about how it functions.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Colonel, stand by. Let's get back to the Chief National Security Correspondent, Jennifer Griffin. Jen, what else?
Well, Trace, I think it's important to remember at the top of the hour we were reporting on an intelligence, latest intelligence that suggests that nearly half of Iran's ballistic missile stockpile have, in fact, survived despite the 11,000 plus strikes that the U.S. military and U.S. Air Force and Israelis have carried out. It really is quite a miracle that more planes have not encountered even mechanical failure over Iran, given the number of flights and the number of strikes that have taken place. You'll remember there were 3 F-15Es that were shot down through friendly fire at the start of the conflict by an overzealous Kuwaiti pilot who mistook them for incoming. But those pilots survived. They managed to eject safely. And in fact, we were told that at least one of those pilots was back in the fight flying missions over Iran. So, so that we do remember. But in terms of ballistic missiles surviving, a lot of the ballistic missile launchers have been destroyed. But we also just learned minutes ago that 3 waves of ballistic missiles were fired towards northern Israel by Iran. So it suggests that these mobile missile launchers are very hard to find. They are hidden often in underground tunnels that have been built over the last 20 years. And so there is still a danger to pilots flying over Iran in terms of anti-aircraft attacks and also potential mechanical failure. We don't know what brought down this F-15E. And then also the fact that Iran is still able to threaten the Gulf countries with ballistic missiles and drones, as well as the Strait of Hormuz, as well as Iran, shows that that even if they still have a few ballistic missiles and drones, they are still going to be threatening their neighbors, and that this mission is far from complete, but also extremely dangerous to continue sending pilots.
Is that my feet? No. Why is my hair glitching out? Stop. My hair doesn't like me. Hello?
Into this contested area.
Yeah, just for clarity here, Jen, you say that you don't know the cause of this plane going down. CENTCOM is about to release a statement, we were told.
We have no
any
idea.
moment now, would CENTCOM know how the plane went down? Is that something they would put out in this, or is this just a general statement in your assessment?
My belief is that we will have very few details in that CENTCOM statement. They will want to confirm that the F-15 perhaps went down, but it will be under investigation. And that is important because they also don't, often first reports from the field are not clear. And so they don't want to put out misinformation, but they also don't want to give, battle damage assessment to the Iranians. So that's why this is so sensitive right now. It is why we were cautious in reporting this until the president had been briefed, because, again, we don't want to do anything that would jeopardize the lives of those pilots if, in fact, they did survive and, in fact, if they have not both been rescued.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox 1.
Okay, we're good. I really look good now.
But first, Bondi's out.
Okay, that's good.
Less than a month after President Trump fired his DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, he has also fired Attorney General Pam Bondi. Now, this is how Washington works. One day, you're with the president at the Supreme Court oral arguments. The next day, you're packing your office. It's brutal.
You never
In the
know,
interim, until a
especially
replacement
with
is
this
picked,
president.
Bondi's deputy, Todd Blanche, will serve as acting AG. On X today, President Trump called Bondi a great American patriot and a loyal friend who did a tremendous job overseeing a massive crackdown in crime across the country, with murders plummeting to their lowest level since 1900. For her part, Bondi said it was an honor of a lifetime to serve, and that she was, for her part,
Pam Bondi is a great American patriot and a loyal friend who faithfully served as my Attorney General over the past year. Pam did a tremendous job overseeing a massive crackdown on crime across our country. That's right. With murders plummeting in their lowest level since 1900. 1900. Oh, shit. This is fucked up.
Bondi said it was an honor of a lifetime to serve, and that she was proud of the work she's done and vowed to continue supporting the president. Now, Bondi's stuck with Trump, let's not forget, during the most difficult, high-stakes battles of his political life. She was a key figure defending him during his first impeachment, and she was a stalwart surrogate on the campaign trail. She battled Democrats and the media, defending Trump when many others ran. And at DOJ, there have been major wins. The crackdown on cartels, gangs like Trend or Aqua. They've helped bring that group down nationwide, and that's meant safer cities. And now U.S. attorneys are aggressively going after the massive fraud that we found in California, in Minnesota, and beyond. But
she's like,
President Trump, nevertheless, had grown increasingly frustrated by other headlines like this: mistakes and redactions in the Epstein files, and then a supposed mistake in information turned over recently to Hill Democrats. But perhaps the most scathing criticism of Bondi was about her handling of the Epstein files. During the campaign,
this is hilarious. I've never done this.
The president made a clear promise to voters that those files would come out. And when he won, he handed that responsibility to Bondi.
One of the things that you alluded to, and this is something Donald Trump has talked about, the DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed.
Now, months later, the Justice Department and FBI said that no such list existed. Now, when White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles spoke to Vanity Fair last year about Bondi, the writing seemed to be on the wall. Wiles said she completely whiffed. First, she gave them binders full of nothingness, and then she said that the witness list or the client list was on her desk. There is no client list, and it sure as hell wasn't on her desk. In Washington parlance, the ever-loyal Pam Bondi had become a political liability.
I think that's bad.
And now timing becomes part of the story as well, because Bondi was scheduled to sit for a House deposition in mid-April on the Epstein matter. The committee will still try to force her to appear. Finally, it was no secret that President Trump has been exceedingly annoyed that none of his political adversaries have had to answer for their vicious political witch hunt that they waged to try to destroy his presidency, really going all the way back to 2015.
You're still talking about that?
In September, posting on X, the president accused Bondi of being basically all talk and no action, writing in part, nothing's being done. He was citing Comey and Letitia James, Adam Schiff, and he wrote that they're all guilty as hell, but we can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and our credibility. Of course, Comey and James were indicted, but those cases were dismissed without prejudice, but with the judge ruling that the federal prosecutor was unlawfully appointed.
Again,
the DOJ is appealing.
You have found TCCN, Tau Ceti Colonial News Network. Yeah, I can say it. I promise.
Appealing those dismissals. Now, in the end, as much as the president personally liked and continues to respect Pam Bondi, and a lot of us do, the president gets to nominate the AG he thinks will be best in that role. So whom will he choose now? With an increasingly unreliable Senate, the president will need to proceed very carefully. Another bruising confirmation battle is probably not what he needs right now. But know this, from day one,
Laura,
whoever the AG nominee, Democrats will have their knives out for him or her.
What?
So it has now been 5 weeks since the U.S. and Israel. So it has now been 5 weeks since the U.S. and Israel began their war on Iran, and Israel's like also Lebanon, also Lebanon, Lebanon too. I love how they just snuck that in there. Like, is the American president answering at all for what the Israelis are doing in Lebanon? They must defend themselves. What? Oh, Hamas is not there? 2,000 people have been killed in Iran in airstrikes in intensified bombing campaign that has hit hospitals, nuclear sites, pharmaceutical production facilities, which, by the way, Iran produces pharmaceuticals inside the country because, of course, sanctions. Electricity.
But corporations still exist, but we just rob from them. Everything's good. Salute them. You know? They had their chance. We just loot them now.
Resources, petrochemical plants. Also, we know that 13 U.S. service members have died, and likely even more, because thousands of soldiers from the U.S. Army's elite 82nd Airborne Division have been deployed to the Middle East over the weekend. 2,500 Marines also were deployed. It seems like there may be an invasion of Karg Island, but there was just a massive escalation of bombing in the last 24 hours, including like 2,000-pound bunker buster bombs, those insane ones that were used, on like refugee camps in Gaza. So I guess at least the target is a little bit more, makes a little bit more sense. But still, just war crime after war crime after war crime. Again, there may be an invasion of Karg Island, where Iran produces its oil. There could be a seizing of the coastal lines near the Strait of Hormuz, which, we got to open up, because nobody told Trump that they could close it. Nobody told him. That's what he said. Nobody told him that they were going to close it. I mean, he still would have done the war anyway. The U.S. and Israel have also struck Iranian universities, have killed Iranian professors.
10/19 Eastern.
And in retaliation, Iran is saying that they're going to strike American universities in the Middle East. So it's not going good, guys. It's very bad. And I did.
What happened this weekend? On Easter.
I have the words of Abby Martin just are ringing in my head because of what a climate tipping point we are at right now. Just already we've been at in this on Earth.
I know.
And her documentary, Earth's Greatest Enemy, is fantastic, and everyone needs to see it. Please go try and see a screening. But really, the focus is on the U.S. military as the greatest purveyor, not just of war crimes, not just of this kind of insane barbarity, but also of CO2 emissions. and all the bullshit that,
Others
you know,
would
Pete
say
Hegseth was
she's a traitor,
practicing in his
but
little
I
drunk ass
disagree.
blanket fort, you know,
You like
after
my
he got
makeup?
done non-consensually aggressing on a
The
staffer
machine put it on wrong this
and
morning.
bankrupting veterans organizations. Like
I hate it.
all of this, all the sort of like the things
so
that they're
mad.
just sort of, they're letting loose. It is
It's okay.
emitting, I mean, truly like completely
It's only
climate
my first
tipping,
time.
ecosystem tipping levels
do?
of CO2, in addition to the amount of destruction and illegality that we're seeing play out. Right? Again, the
It's
Iraq
terrible.
war with no lube, the Iraq war,
No lube, she
just
says.
an AI
Holy
version.
shit.
Someone drew the Iraq war by memory,
Yeah, I
and
know,
here
right?
we have it.
They're like,
Using
yeah, just
fucking
take
crayons, and that's just,
take
you
this
know,
like you
that's
like to
insulting
take
to
it.
children.
That one will.
But there's also, speaking
That's
of
right.
artwork,
I'm scary now.
there's just been a little bit of artwork, and you look, I
Y'all
am,
can't avoid
as I
me
just
now.
said, concerned about the planet.
My eyes be
And
red.
part of being concerned about the planet is being against AI. You will never see me using AI. I am not going to be using AI so long as I can help it. I
use
am not going to be sponsored by anything AI. I
It's great
don't
for Cody.
enjoy an AI
sorry.
meme
I'm
unless,
sorry, folks. I'm sorry.
unless it's Iran.
I'm sorry I
Because
use it.
Iran's been putting out some propaganda that is AI generated that I just feel
kinda
like
good.
we should look at and talk about, because it is kind of insane and based. And we've seen, of course, so
It's
much
insanely based.
Trump AI,
Some
Kristi
would say.
Noem AI on DHS mocking immigrants, crying, right? Mocking their deportation flights, or lauding their deportation flights. And again, just like just
not okay, right?
disgraceful use of, like, you know, just to get the like chud-brained little 13-year-olds who are now apparently at our airports. But this is so good. This is, I mean, I'm going to explain it for the podcast audience if you haven't seen it. Here is, this was last week, but this is what caught my eye that Iran is putting out there to, you know, shore up support. Honestly,
it's so hard.
From the world over when it comes to
So
being
hard being a
against
girl
U.S. imperialism.
on Tau City. There's not a lot of good women up here.
It starts off with a Native American man. It says like Native
Let's
American
go.
lands, and he's like looking up to the sky. It goes to Japan and Hiroshima, and like
Yeah, hello.
a boy with a little boy
This
on
is a
his back
burn.
looking up to the sky.
Burn.
Then you have Vietnam, a woman in a rice paddy looking up to the sky. Oof. Yemen. I mean, you're skipping ahead. You're skipping through a lot of Central America, my guy, but like still, I'm here for it. There is Yemen, obviously backed by Saudi Arabia's war on Yemen and the Yemeni people that the U.S. was in lockstep with, supplied weapons for. You know, there was some attempts to stop it, but Palestine and Gaza, a young girl in the rain, in a sort of a rained out, you know, refugee camp looking to the sky. Epstein Island, ladies and gentlemen, just a girl, like a little, like 4-year-old girl in a dress looks up to the sky on Epstein Island because they've been very, very pro Epstein victims, which you gotta love the level of trolling / honesty that we're seeing. Like, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be all Hassan about it, and we'll talk a little bit, but like, gun to your head, whose side are you choosing? I think we know. I mean, I'm just gonna like good for Iran. You know what I'm saying? Good for them. Iran in Minab. This is the, you know, the hundreds of girls who were killed in a girls' school in the very first day of this war. The opening salvo was a war crime, double tapped. In other words, when the rescuers came to save and to try to help the victims and the survivors of this bombing, they were also bombed. General Qasem Soleimani, I'm not going to go there with you. I'm not like, no love lost for Soleimani. Ayatollah Khamenei. And then here comes an Iranian missile right to the Statue of Liberty. The pig-headed Statue of Liberty.
Some would say. Being
obliterated. One vengeance for all is the final bumper. God damn.
The Habituation
God
room.
damn. I would
Good. What the
say one vengeance, once and for all. You know what I mean? I mean, again, not a lot of love for the Iranian regime specifically, but very much an axis of resistance move here. And look, I was at the No Kings protest over the weekend. I was here in downtown LA, and I emceed. It was great. I hope people were there. I do think it's important to go out and protest. And Iran's been crushing it with their, they're doing some Legos AI now. And so here is another thing they did. So it's Trump as a Lego inside the White House, as a bunch of little angry Legos are outside saying, "Stop the war." And then my favorite, "No King," which is great. Like, it's "No Kings," but I love that the AI translation just became "No King." Little signs that say "Loser." Loser! Oil prices are going up. Then he pulls out from his file "Quick Solutions to War," and it says Karg Island.
It's like they don't know.
He calls all his military guys, the CIA.
Lego-style animation.
Anyway, it gets kind of good from there. The music kicks up. It's very fun. Like I'm not gonna hate on it. This is actually kind of fun. So. They're trolling at top tier, i.e. at the same level as Donald Trump is very much used to. So I don't know, is there a new Lego movie coming out? I just appreciate a little bit of propaganda in reverse. But again,
Just a little bit.
If any politician wants to come on my show, I will probably be told by CNN's Jake Tapper that I am an Iranian apologist, or as Emma Vigeland was called over the weekend, an Iranian apologist, for saying that some of that propaganda is kind of funny. It's kind of funny. One vengeance for all. It's kind of based. What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise.
Uncle Sam time. Looks. Check it in.
We have not hit their oil, even though that's the easiest target of all, because it would not give them even a small chance of survival.
Trump addressed the nation, trying to calm the markets ahead of the three-day weekend, where it appears like a ground invasion of Iran is imminent. Let's pull up two here. We can just give you a preview of how this went. This is a live view of oil prices.
Oh, shit.
Well, I mean, live in the middle of his speech.
Right.
So this is as, this is the wrong one. No. Oh, no, okay, great. No. Yeah, not live right now.
Get it?
This is as Trump was speaking. It surged to, this is now above $112 a barrel.
Yeah, it was, I believe, a $10 or $13 increase
just from his speech alone.
Yeah.
So it didn't go so well because that's literally all he seems to respond to, and he wants to do what he wants to do because he wants to look like the tough guy, but he doesn't want the markets to react negatively. The markets have been operating outside of logic, seemingly, on this front, and taking him at his word for weeks within this 5 weeks of war. But that is changing now because he's consistently lying to the Iranian negotiators, lying in public to try to do what he wants to do with this criminal war in Iran without the consequences that he cares about.
Yeah, I think the taco stuff is looking like it was maybe a miscalculation.
Yes. And this speech was like, hey, the war is over, but it's not a war, and it will be over when we do this operation that I'm previewing. He talked a lot about bombing them. There was, in the introduction to the speech, bragging about the Venezuela operation as quick, lethal, violent, and respected.
Wow.
So
It got rave reviews.
yeah, right. Did you check the Rotten Tomatoes score on our kidnapping of Maduro?
It was red.
Like, calling something respected doesn't make it so. Perhaps they view it as a success within their own kind of limited psychopathic worldview. But as we've said, Iran is not Venezuela. Iran is significantly larger. Iran has a long history of resisting U.S. and Western imperialism, and as does the Iranian government.
Famously.
They've lived through the bombing campaign last summer from the Israelis, and with the approval of the United States, for example. He also blamed in his speech Iran for October 7th, says that Iran wants to annihilate Israel.
We
the most standard Zionist talking points possible. He said that there would be no Israel in this speech if he did not get out of the JCPOA that Obama negotiated, which is just like, he's a ventriloquist dummy for Netanyahu here.
Non-Israel.
The JCPOA was a complete success, and our intelligence and the assessments of this from third parties, that fact is it's a fact. But we have warmongers and Zionists that want to obscure that. So when Trump got into office in after the 2016 election, he ripped it up. And now we've been escalating with Iran ever since. And then apparently Trump is still fascinated with this idea of going into Iran and taking their uranium, which would involve building a runway, sending in extremely expensive special equipment, and would be really risky for U.S. troops because the stockpiles of uranium are in mountains in many ways. Some parts of the stockpile are currently buried under rubble due to U.S. bombing, so we would have to excavate in that area. And it's also material that is protected with layers of concrete and other protective coverings that they would have to break through, then get to the bottom of these silos, safely take the nuclear material out and fly it out, requiring this runway to put the cargo onto the special planes, all while having U.S. troops doing this Mission Impossible thing, and putting them in harm's way in a country that is now trying to get volunteer forces to help defend their homeland. What a shock. Carpet bombing a country, bombing schools, medical facilities, universities, has engendered some sort of nationalism and pride in defending the homeland. Who could have seen it coming? It's almost like bombing them wasn't going to make them more likely to be pro-Israel defenders or people that believe in Western capitalism. But then this morning, Trump tells Reuters that he doesn't really care about the uranium anymore because it's so far underground, because maybe people got to him and said, this is insane.
So, I mean, very clearly they were like, he was sold on a Venezuela-style, James Bond-style mission and thought it'd be, well, you can do it once, do it again. Going to get that uranium, which they haven't really been tracking very closely. There's a story like a couple weeks ago that they barely, kind of forgot about it. But now it's like, this would take weeks. This would take like thousands of people on the ground within Iran. They would just be sitting ducks. So, he could go for it. So I still don't know which way, if I had to bet on one of the illegal betting services. But it would be like a huge problem if they tried.
Can't figure out what to look at.
The bet that we've been having on the show is that it's going to be over the long weekend with Good Friday. Tomorrow it's closed, the markets. And it's going to be some sort of Christian nationalist Easter theme.
Yeah, my bet is Operation Resurrection.
Ooh, okay. All right. If they go for the uranium, perhaps there's an Easter egg hunt involved, but I would say that doesn't involve enough implied crusade stuff for Pete Hegseth and the bloodthirsty Christian nationalists that populate this administration. Here is part of this address from Trump in which he is bragging about being an absolute savage, speaking about the war crimes that he wants to continue to inflict upon the Iranian people.
what was coming. They've never imagined it. Remember, because of our drill baby drill program, America has plenty of gas. We have so
This is
much gas.
wrong part. Sorry.
We got them, folks.
Part 2.
They don't know what they're doing.
Yes.
That's right.
But that part was funny
Drill,
when he
baby,
said,
drill.
"We have plenty of
That's all we had to
gas."
do.
So much gas. That's
We
he's
have
not
so
lying.
much gas.
You have
Yes.
plenty of gas, sir.
Plenty of
We've
gas
heard
in my
about all of
ass.
this before.
Ask Susie about it.
Yeah. Or anyone within a 1 mile radius.
Objectives are fully achieved. Thanks to the progress we've made, I can say tonight that we are on track to complete all of America's military objectives shortly, very shortly. We're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks.
So hard.
We're going to bring them back to the Stone Ages where they belong.
Ew.
In the meantime,
That's
discussions are
disgusting, bro.
ongoing. Regime
You
change
suck.
was not our goal. We never said regime change, but regime change has occurred because of all of their original
So he
leaders' death. They're all dead. The new
They're all
group is
dead,
less
folks.
radical and
Don't
much
worry.
more reasonable. Yet if during this period
Wait,
of time
okay,
no
all
deal
right.
is made,
I
we
mean,
have
I'm
our
sorry.
eyes.
Just to pause for a second. What were our objectives? I just want to list them out
Yeah,
because
exactly.
they didn't really say. Regime change
What were
was
they, folks?
a purported objective. And then he says that we achieved it
Tell me
already.
your
Oh,
objective.
you know, by killing the elderly father and having his son be in charge. Technically, there have been changes within the regime, but does that constitute regime change? No. The Iranian people have not risen up against the government, which was one of the other objectives that he said they wanted to achieve.
None frames dropped.
The nuclear program has not been destroyed, even though they said last summer it had been. Then they claimed that was the objective this time, to destroy it. And the Strait of Hormuz has
Dude,
been
they said they
perhaps
got rid of it
indelibly
last time.
pushed in the
like, yep,
direction
it's all
of
gone.
Iran's
None more.
sovereignty and leverage, where it's quite possible that going forward they exert essentially taxes on ships that go through there, which is a objectively worse outcome for Western interests. So,
Okay,
also
so
the Stone
straight
Age is
you,
plural.
looking up top.
Come on, buddy.
Looking at
Come on.
you,
We're talking to them and
top.
negotiating them, but we want to destroy
He's
them so
looking
that
at
they
you.
have no modern society. That's the two things that he said back to back.
I know.
On key targets. If there is no deal, we are going to hit each and every one of their electric generating plants very hard
said
and
that
probably
too.
simultaneously.
He's like, we're
we
gonna
have
do it.
not hit their oil,
gonna do it.
even though that's the
Back
easiest
on
target
Trump.
of all, because it would not give them even a small chance of survival. or
Okay, just pause really
rebuild.
quickly. The Israelis did hit the oil fields. We spoke about that within the first week or so of this illegal criminal war. It was such a devastating attack that
weird.
it is
She went
likely
just so
to
fast.
remain in the soil and waterways in
me, right?
Iran for decades to come,
can't
causing
tell if I'm
cancer and
blinking or
other
not.
health issues.
It's a war crime to attack civilian infrastructure.
Well, he's bragging about. I mean, talking about
That's what I
going
said
after
earlier.
their
like, yeah.
domestic energy capacity.
I mean, to hear people talk about our allies and stuff like
no
this,
bueno.
like these are sort of things where if Putin did it, we would rightly call it a war crime. And instead, we
Right.
like act like, well, I guess. Well, actually, our president is
this
just
case, you
bragging
know,
about
it's
it, so it's not
Trump.
like we're even
So
having a
who
pretense
cares?
about it anymore.
I mean, but this is where our complicity in Israel's genocide has led us to this moment.
It's ripped the fabric of international relations apart.
No consequences for genocide means
guys,
why would Trump anticipate any
gotta load up
consequences
and get in
for
the game
bombing
eventually,
civilian
okay?
infrastructure like this? It's the unraveling
win.
of any kind of world order.
But we could hit it, and it would be gone, and there's not a thing
TCCN.
they could do about it.
Ah,
They have no
broadcasting at
anti-aircraft
7:39 p.m.
equipment.
EST.
Their radar is
PST.
100%
Check.
annihilated. We are unstoppable as a military
We're the
force.
best.
Oh,
The
we're up in the Strait of Hormuz then.
Yeah, then do it. Then stop begging Europe.
nuclear sites that
Why
were
are we the best
obliterated with the
if you need
B-2
help,
bombers
bitch?
have been hit so hard that it would take months to get near the nuclear dust. And we have it under intense satellite surveillance and
Lies,
control.
all of it.
If we see them make a move, even a move for it, we'll hit them with missiles very hard again. We have
He
all
likes
the
the
cards, they
word
have none. It's very
hard.
important that we keep this conflict in perspective. American involvement in World War I lasted 1 year, 7 months and 5 days. World
Wow.
War II
History
lasted for 3 years,
Donald
8 months,
J.
and 25 days.
You're
the Korean
fired.
War lasted for 3 years, 1 month,
You're fired.
and 2 days.
No one likes
The Vietnam
you.
War lasted for 19 years, 5 months, and 29 days.
That's right.
Iraq went on for 8
He's
years,
terrible.
8 months, and 28 days. We are in this military operation, so powerful, so brilliant, against one of the
It's
most
so
powerful
amazing.
countries for 32 days.
Okay, so
days.
I just want to, first of all,
Is there a word limit on this speech that he had to hit?
they're all writing ChatGPT, their speeches in ChatGPT. List the length of other wars to make our not war look so
Like
much
not a war.
less
Right.
time consuming than the other.
think I need
And that the reason I wanted to play that part is because you've been on this, the whole like no forever wars thing. Enough. And no wars of choice,
No wars of choice.
offensive wars. Because when you hear Democrats say no
we say
forever
none
wars,
wars.
what does that mean? It's literally what he just listed
I
there.
don't like him.
Hey, these other wars were really long and costly. This one that will completely
It's so much
that
better than
involves
those other
a
wars.
litany of war
It's unlike
crimes
any war
and will be
you've ever
devastating
seen
to the Iranian
before.
people and
That's
probably
right.
also to the ground troops and to the world at large. That's okay, I guess, if it's a short military conflict. It aids what we've spoken about, how the executive branch has entirely taken over the wartime authority that Congress is supposed to have when you say that limited wars in their scope are allowable because
There's
it just
no
feeds
limit
into the
to
hands
our
of the
war.
more unilateral
Don't ever get it
action by
twisted.
the executive.
It's a coupon for the military-industrial complex that it will cash every time you say that, because what the real problem is that we over-prepare for war in this
man is
country, and we
right.
should be addressing other things like daycare, for instance.
We
and
can't pay for
instead,
daycare.
for our
Shut up.
entire lives, we've just
How
been
dare you,
giving
sir.
more and more money
I
to the
already said we couldn't
Pentagon,
pay for that
and
shit.
they need to burn it somehow. And every once in a while, yeah, it's nice to fire off some missiles at a country and get all everybody's
We can
you
make
know,
more
defense
money.
contractor stocks
That's
up.
right.
But
We
we
can make more
shouldn't
money.
be doing any of these
More
wars at all.
money.
We way
More money.
overuse our military,
need
and look
money.
where it's got us.
And you mentioned
it's game
daycare,
time.
you mentioned childcare. To top it off, this was before the address last night. Trump here is speaking extemporaneously, and he says more of what's his true thoughts are. And as he degrades, it's becoming...
TCCN.
It's interesting to see
Luke is important.
him just say exactly what his motivations are explicitly. As he's declining and
don't
as there
have
are no
Luke?
consequences
You
for
don't
his
have Luke.
actions. This is what narcissists do as well. Like, they like to give you little breadcrumbs as to what their thinking is, but
She's
Trump's
right.
becoming even more and more undisciplined about this. And every
becomes a
Democratic
side
candidate should
quest.
have this clip in one of their ads
You know what I
in
mean?
the general election.
All right, let me continue.
Because the United States
Look like a
can't take
gamer.
care of daycare. That has to be up to a state.
We can't
take
do
care of daycare.
daycare.
We're a big
Are you- what's
country.
wrong with you?
We have 50 states. We have all these
have
other
50
people. We're
states.
fighting wars. We can't take care of daycare.
How could we
you
do
gotta let a
daycare,
state
too?
take care of daycare, and they should pay for it too.
The states should
They
do
should
it.
pay. They have to raise their
I'm a bitch.
taxes. But they should pay for it, and we could lower our taxes a
Kathy
little bit
Hochul?
to them
What
to
a
make
bitch.
up. But it's not possible for us to take care of daycare, Medicaid, Medicare, all these individual things. They can do it on a
think
state
this is
basis. You
gonna
can't do it on a federal. We have to take care of one thing:
I don't
military
think I can
protection.
die while I'm transmitting. The band
So
went
Trump
from
ran
Town
on
City.
something called America First
It's not good
and no
enough.
new wars.
It's a sad day.
We all knew he was lying if
I
you were
might
paying
have to
any
say
attention.
goodbye to you
But
guys.
Smith didn't. They
Well,
found out now.
Yeah. I would love to see him react to this clip.
Performance and scalability.
He's literally saying he's giving it away.
Material
We cannot pay for daycare. We cannot pay for childcare. We cannot pay for healthcare. They're trying to further gut healthcare to pay for the war in Iran even more than they did previously with the one big ugly ass bill where they kicked tens of millions of Americans off their healthcare, raised premiums, doubled them to pay for tax cuts for the rich. Now let's double dip back into your healthcare and cut more from that to pay for this war in Iran, which is America first, apparently.
Apparently.
This is one of the greatest... Trump is a scam artist.
Some would say.
And he's scammed the American public for a decade at this point. But this might be his greatest his greatest scam.
It's a Capone-like mafia hit, which this on the entire world, because we didn't play this. Well, maybe we'll play in the fun half, but where he's like, we don't really get any oil from the Strait of Hormuz, so we don't really care. If you want it open so bad, because we got it closed, you should go fix it. But in the meantime, you can buy from us. That's like Al Capone going to a rival moonshine dealer, smashing up all their bottles, and going to their clients and saying, "Hey, you need some liquor for your speakeasy." That's just what's happening. He is a gangster on the world level.
Yep. We've gotten to this point not in a vacuum, not by the actions of one individual or one individual political party. The tactics of our colonial outposts in the Middle East have now been fully and unapologetically adopted by the state that gave birth to its client state. We're doing war crimes and bragging about it and acting as if that's strength, and showing how completely divorced public will is right now from the actions of our supposed democracy. I think, when we talk about how it's a myth that people don't vote on foreign policy, this is going to be an example of that. Because people do want to see a government that is responsive to mass public sentiment. And whether it was Biden committing genocide in spite of how his party was reacting, or even running for re-election in spite of what people wanted, and whether it's Trump here, doesn't matter that at the outset of this war in Iran, it's the most unpopular war in the modern era. We're still going to pursue this because it's largely irrelevant at this point what people think. We are a country that has completely been taken over by the explosion of dark money since Citizens United in 2010, insulating our government from public opinion and public will. And the consequences of that are deadly.
It's going to hurt that we've geared so much of our economy towards just killing, as the Palantir guy said. We're the best at killing. That's not much to offer the world. We used to offer them much more. Now we still lead culturally. There's a lot of media and entertainment that we do in this country, and still do make some good things. But also, I don't know that our tech exports are really that much to hang our hat on for the future either. It'd be nice to be making, the future electric vehicle, or being really good at making high-speed trains, or it's depressing that all we do is, as Trump said, is fight wars.
Hey folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.
I'm glitching out. It's perfect for the game, though.
Embrace that shit poster energy, because I got news for you. They don't care about you, what you think, what you feel, and you need to fight fire with fire. You can't just lay back and play by a different set of rules while they're breaking all the rules.
Can they get away with that forever?
I really think that this last election broke me in a way. It radicalized me. And, my contention is you can't really defeat right-wing politics with centrism. $200 million ballroom that's 90,000 square feet at the White House. Do you think that guy is going to leave after 4 years? You think he's thinking of leaving after 4 years? The thing is going to be done in 4 years. He's going to want to experience it and use it. The best predictor of future action is past action. He already tried to steal the 2020 election. We don't need to guess.
Welcome to Doomscroll. I'm your host, Joshua Citarella. My guest is Kyle Kulinski, a YouTuber and political commentator. He is the host of The Kyle Kulinski Show. I mean, I have talked to a number of people who come from a cultural background, from comedy, from music, from everything. It seems like no matter what sphere, what vertical, so to speak, to use the legacy media terminology for it, whatever vertical you're in, sports even, all of these things are inevitably driven towards politics in the last few years.
It's a product of the brosphere. It's a product of the Rogan sphere. Yeah, they were really the first ones to feign being apolitical, not interested in that kind of stuff, independent, above the fray. But then, you watch any Rogan podcast within the past 8 years, and at some point he's going on his rant about wokeness being bad. At some point it's the left is crazy, and here's why, let me tell you. And hammering away on culture war type issues as he ironically pretends like he's not all that interested in the culture war. And I think that really opened up the door. And you saw this, a lot of people followed Rogan, right? You have Andrew Schultz, for example, now fancies himself a political podcast. You have a lot of these guys now.
I mean, I have written, I wrote a piece in The Guardian a few years ago in defense of Rogan. I've stood up for him in the past.
Would you like to apologize now?
Andrew Schultz, I have no, well, I think at that time it was correct, and he's maybe made a bit of a turn in the last few years. I've heard you express some opinions about that recently. You famously introduced Bernie Sanders to Joe Rogan. Why have liberals been unable to produce their own successful populist podcast?
I mean, you could argue that my podcast might actually fit into that category.
Yeah.
I do think at the moment, I'm a leftist, but I do think at the moment, if you look at the makeup of the people who watch me, now I'm probably at about 50% people who would self-describe as liberal.
Yeah.
Because I think at the moment there's a coming together of liberals and leftists in a way that we haven't seen before. And it's all because everybody's looking at what Trump is doing in the White House and they're going, anything but this. So a lot of the people who were in the trenches fighting for Hillary in 2016 are now looking around and going, you know what? Bernie was right. The left-wingers were right. The establishment doesn't know how to fight at all. I mean, this guy's back in the White House. Everything they told us that would defeat him was wrong. He's not defeated. And so we got to give this a chance. We got to go in this direction. That's why you see Zoran Mamdani, winning in New York City for the primary. And winning, if you look at the numbers, it's astounding. He won a majority of Jews, even though he was smeared as an anti-Semite. Right? So I think that there's a mass awakening among liberals. So I do think it's fair to categorize, I'm a leftist populist, but enough liberals watch me where they would say, that guy represents me.
What is your sense of the degree of trust in legacy media right now? Because I feel like a few years ago, maybe if you roll back the clock 4 years, an election cycle previously, that someone, a public figure being smeared as an anti-Semite would be really, really damaging to where they could not win such an extraordinary amount of votes.
I think legacy media has sort of bottomed out and they're going to stay roughly where they are. Nobody really trusts them anymore. That's both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because you want people to look at independent and new media, but it's a curse because so much of independent and new media is also a cesspool, right? Like, I feel like everybody has an innate skepticism now of mainstream media. Correctly so. They look at it like, I don't know if I trust this. The guy seems inauthentic, wearing a suit, parroting talking points. But to your point, now people have rushed to new media and they might look at the brosphere and think, oh, these guys are honest and telling me the truth, and they just get totally brainwashed into right-wing garbage. So I've been sort of an equal opportunity hater these days, where my anger is directed both at mainstream media and at new media. But for mainstream media in particular, I feel like the real death knell is the genocide in Gaza. Like every now and then you might get one story that comes out where they do a half-decent job. But this thing is not discussed as the moral atrocity and horror that it is. In a world that made sense, you'd have this like on a loop, 24/7, nonstop coverage. You'd have people accurately calling Benjamin Netanyahu a war criminal, saying he should be arrested. Like these are just objective things to say. This is not like an opinion, right? And they don't do that. And I think that's one of the main reasons, especially with younger people, why they still have this burning, passionate hatred for mainstream media. And I don't foresee it getting better. I think it's only going to get worse. But at the same time, the advertiser money really props them up. So I don't see them going anywhere. Even though their ratings are bad, they're just going to be on air speaking into an old age home from now until the end of time.
Right. Well, I mean, there is a little bit of a saving grace in that the advertisers are motivated by profit. And if nobody's watching it at all, they can't recoup their spend on it. So there's a little bit of a kind of constraining mechanism there.
That's true, but I think the legacy of the name of CNN is like enough to make CNN. People act like it's 1987 or 1998. And you said, oh, CNN the name. And so I do think that it's a ghost town, but at the same time, I think advertisers might be silly enough to say, yeah, go ahead, give them the money, keep them afloat.
They had the whole market dominated, right? They had it cornered because there was no alternative for a long time. And they also had a more robust fact-checking department and editorial gatekeepers. And this is in the theory of value as it pertains to media. Like the restrictions on the flow of capital, basically not being able to buy placement in legacy media, is what built up all of that value, right? And now what's happening is that you're seeing these brand names basically sell off their credibility to the advertisers as you have this rise of the other sphere. On the topic of, I want to segue us into this, on this topic of alt media, why is the right wing so overwhelmingly dominant? There was a 2025 Media Matters study, I'm sure you've seen this, and we can dispute their method of categorization and all of this stuff, but they report, and I think it's fair to say, it's like 90% dominated by conservative voices. Why do you think that is?
I think they're willing to shitpost. I think they're willing to be edgy. I think they're willing to, push boundaries. They're willing to do the things that naturally and organically get more eyeballs on them. And I think that's tied into, you don't start overtly political. You start with just something interesting and edgy.
Right.
And then eventually you become political. Yeah. Again, it's like the Rogan thing that we talked about before. And they're willing to do that. Whereas I feel like people on the left, there's still a little bit of an aversion to be actually edgy, actually push boundaries, actually hey, look at me, get some attention by doing something crazy.
Yeah.
And I think we suffer as a result of that. And yeah, hearing those numbers is, that's a dagger to my heart too. 90%, that's what that study said, 90% right wing. Yeah. Oh my God, we got a lot of work to do, man.
Speaking of being edgy, you recently called the president, I'm just checking my notes here, a fat retard. How do you consider your online presence on X or Twitter or what have you?
What I've learned from is the right. I learned from the right because I look at them be the most unhinged, relentless bullies and freaks you've ever seen in your life.
Right.
And get rewarded for it.
Yep.
And it looks to me like people and voters reward strength more than anything else. And so there's something about the bully that actually is appealing to people. They might not like to admit it, but it's true.
Yeah.
And so what I'm doing is copying the tactics of the right in an attempt to defeat the right. And we're seeing this now with the gerrymandering fight too, right? You have we're going to get 5 more seats in Texas. And then Gavin Newsom goes, okay, well, we're going to wipe that out and do 5 more Democratic seats in California. And then you have Beto O'Rourke comes out. Beto O'Rourke, who's a corporate Democrat, he goes, fuck the rules. There are no rules anymore. There are no referees. Whatever you do, we're going to do the same shit. And that's the mentality that people on the left have been screaming for the Democrats to have for the longest time. And I feel like just now people are beginning to get it. So what I would do is I would encourage anybody who's a liberal or a leftist, embrace that shit poster energy, embrace that I don't give a fuck energy, because I got news for you. They don't care about you, what you think, what you feel. They understand how to gain power and how to exercise power. And you need to fight fire with fire. You can't just lay back and play by a different set of rules while they're breaking all the rules. And so that energy really came. I really think that this last election broke me in a way. It radicalized me. Watching Trump get in the White House again, it makes you feel like, okay, well now I don't even give a fuck anymore. I'm throwing haymakers in every direction, right? I'm going out like Scarface at the end of Scarface. I'm shooting every, say hello to my little friend, right? And it turns out that actually works. Turns out that gets more eyeballs on you. Turns out that gets more people interested in what you're saying. Right. Turns out people look at that and go, yes, you're a fighter. You represent me. Thank you. Keep doing it.
No,
right?
exactly.
And that's something that even I didn't realize until very, very recently.
Fighters.
Just the extent to which you really got to fight hard and go balls to the wall and just call it's okay. The right is very clear. They have political enemies and they call them out day after day.
Right.
We need to be clear in the opposite direction. But my enemies are not trans people. My enemy, it's not immigrants. My enemies are the billionaires and the fascists. And so that's where I aim 24/7 and try to attack.
Yeah.
On this topic of the corporate Democrats, there's been a lot of talk in the last few months about particularly young men, but just young people in general moving towards the right, and a lot of struggle to explain why this is. 15 points for young men, 11 points for young women. And I think of our generation and growing up with the work of Thomas Frank, right? I had a very clear idea that there's a story that explains how the Democrats went from being the labor constituency to this corporatist party. And, maybe if you're growing up in Gen Z, you just don't have the historical memory. You haven't known anyone who ever experienced that transition. What was the story that you grew up with? What made you think, or people of our age, that the Democrats were the party of the working class?
Well, it was just, the right was insane. Everything was evangelical, fundamentalist Christianity. Fuck gay people, they shouldn't have the right to get married. It was like social authoritarianism mixed with economic insanity where you want to give more tax cuts to the rich and you want to destroy the social safety net. And looking at that, it was just a default option that you go with the left. And the left at the time, it's counterculture in the sense that if you're out there when we were kids saying gay people should have the right to get married, people are like, oh, But now, thankfully we've reached at least that one. But it was never really a question.
I used to say that.
And then I don't know about you, but for me, in the Bush era is when I really opened my eyes to politics. Because it was very clear to me, this war is based on nothing. Saddam Hussein didn't attack us. Saddam Hussein had nothing to do with 9/11. What are we talking about? Are you kidding me? They were trying to link Saddam to Osama. That was total BS. Then they moved the goalpost and said Saddam has weapons of mass destruction, which number one, he doesn't. Number two, even if he did, the idea that he's going to like launch on Cleveland any minute is absurd. And so there was just this default liberalism and leftism where you felt like anything but this, man, anything but this. And the Democrats at the time paid lip service to being anti-war, or at least more anti-war than the Republicans. And that sort of led to our, you know, our political awakening. And then we had the torture and everything that Dick Cheney and Bush did. And look, at some point, the right got really good at lying. And that's the story of the Trump era, is, you know, pretending he's anti-war, pretending he's going to look out for the working class, then getting in office and doing more war and outsourcing more jobs and destroying the working class. And I really think that, you know, the young people today, the ones who moved right, they fell for the two-step. They fell for the lies. Because for all of Trump's flaws, he certainly feels authentic. He sounds authentic. He sounds like he's shooting from the hip and telling you what he really thinks. And so they think like, oh, okay, this guy seems more honest than Kamala Harris, but that's not true. And that's, you know, that's why we are where we are.
And we don't want Kamala
Well, there's a problem in that. I feel like most people living in the U.S. just like have not felt the impact of a policy on their lives for as long as they've been alive, right? It's just been this kind of slow drift towards neoliberal privatization. And so if you haven't really felt the benefits of participating in politics, then yeah, vibes is kind of really powerful.
That's true, yeah. But now what they're about to realize is, with this big bullshit bill that just passed where they kick 17 million people off their Medicaid,
where's my
now you're going to
fucking
feel
tax
it.
break?
And by the way, the Republicans put like a little buffer zone in there where it's like, oh, that kicks in 2026, and this other thing kicks in 2028. So when those things hit, the Republicans are going to go, oh, look, it's happening under the Democrats.
Right.
That's their dirty trick that they're doing. But this bill kicks 17 million people off their Medicaid, kicks 3 million people off food stamps. This is going to be a horror show. I really don't think people get how bad this is going to be for the country.
Right. Yeah, no kidding. A lot of directions I want to take this. Very quickly on this topic of counterculture. It is unimaginable to people of our age that there is a right-wing counterculture now, right? That this is an edgy, transgressive identity for like Gen Z kids. How do you explain this shift versus like growing up with the idea of being oppositional or like anti-hegemonic power was a left-wing identity by default?
Yeah, I would say that the right is just lying, and they're good at it. You know, that's the thing. They always try to rebrand as being edgy and being counterculture, but by definition, right-wing politics can't be edgy and can't be counterculture, because the whole point of right-wing politics is to protect the hierarchy and the power structure. Right? The whole point of left-wing politics is the opposite, to go after the hierarchy and the power structure. And that's what people need to realize, is that, you know, you've been had if you really think right-wing politics is transgressive. How is it transgressive that Trump just cut taxes for the wealthy and raised taxes for the working class? How's that transgressive?
I know, I just got my right.
How's it transgressive when you give corporations all the power? How's it transgressive when you bomb Iran, bomb Somalia, bomb Yemen, and do all the things that we feared he was going to do? None of that is transgressive. Yeah, you know, I guess they would say, oh, the fact that he goes after trans people is transgressive or whatever, but that's bullshit. Trans people have no fucking power. They have no power. They're not hurting anybody. They're not ruining anybody's life. They're just trying to live their own life and be as happy as they could be. So they flipped it where they made the young people think, oh, on the culture stuff, we can be transgressive by like hating the groups that are different. And it's like, I'm sorry, that's not transgressive. That's like your Bull Connor in 1959. You know what I'm saying? It's the opposite of transgressive. The real transgressive thing is to stand up for the people who are downtrodden and shoved aside by society and that society looks down on. That's the real like transgressive thing, is to say, no, these are our brothers and sisters and we're going to represent them and fight for them.
What is your version of this story, how the Democrats became this corporate party? I think when you mentioned this like 1959 era, the environment that Gen Z kids grew up in has been so radically different that they don't really recall what that kind of patriarchal hegemonic structure was like previously. How do you describe that story, the shift within the Democratic Party?
I think Thomas Frank gets it right. I think that, you know, what was it, the DLC, Democratic Leadership Council in the 1990s comes along, and basically the Democrats say we're going to start taking corporate money, just like the Republicans. And that made it so the Democrats, instead of just representing the unions, instead of representing the teachers, instead of representing the lawyers, they decided, okay, well, now we got to also represent these corporations. And so you had the rightward shift to the Democratic Party. You had the repeal of Glass-Steagall. You had welfare reform under Bill Clinton. And that led to what effectively was an identity crisis for the Democrats, because then, from then on, you had the Democrats being a centrist party and the Republicans staying a right-wing party. And, you know, my contention is you can't really defeat right-wing politics with centrism because it's toothless. It's mealy-mouthed, it's toothless, it's conceding half the argument to the right. And so I think what we're going through now is this tumultuous period where Democrats are being forced to redefine themselves and figure out a way forward. And I think what they're going to realize is the only way forward is to go to the left. I mean, you're even seeing this now around the issue of Gaza, that now Democrats are trying to find their bearings. And I think that on this issue and a lot of issues, Democrats are going to have to realize you don't really have a choice anymore. I think the Democratic base is being radicalized in a similar way to how the Republican base was radicalized in 2016, how Trump just took over the whole party in a hostile way. I think what the Democrats are going to realize is the first candidate, Hassan Piker said this the other day, the first candidate who goes on the debate stage and says, Israel can suck my dick, is going to win in a fucking landslide. And people are going to realize, like, oh, so Trump of the left, who's willing to say the things and willing to get ahead. And so I do think we're in a transitionary period now. But yeah, we lived through the corporatization of the Democrats, where, you know, you had Bill Clinton, you had Barack Obama, the audacity of hope. Everybody felt like, oh, maybe he'll be like another FDR. Wrong. He was like a slightly less bad Bill Clinton, right? You had Joe Biden come along, who was half dead, but at the same time, even he managed to be a little more to the left than Obama, and certainly more to the left than Clinton on everything except funding the genocide, of course. Like on economic issues, he was a little better than them. But now it really is the wake-up call. And you could either, you know, the party could either, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe they'll put a good liar out there who will convince everybody that, oh, I'm a lefty, and then still do the neoliberal stuff. That's certainly possible. But at the very least, they're going to have to pantomime and mimic the things that you and I want to hear, because those are the only candidates that are going to start winning. We're going to have a Tea Party of the left that, you know, we previously thought was not really possible.
I've been seeing these memes, actually, exactly that. The Tea Party Democrats. I think it's a very small account. I probably shouldn't even be blowing up their spot right now. But like, yes, an insurgent force within the Democratic Party.
Yeah, and I co-founded Justice Democrats.
I was going to ask you about that,
That was, you know, we tried to do this basically Tea Party of the left thing, but we just missed the window. Like, the window is now. It was not when we did it. We were too early, right? We tried to do it in like 2018-ish. And people just weren't ready yet. At the time, the Democratic voters felt like, yeah, I think Trump winning was a fluke, and so I'm still kind of with Nancy Pelosi. I'm still kind of with Hillary Clinton. That's what the base felt like, at least according to the polling.
The fluke twice.
But now they don't feel like that. Now they feel like, okay, these people are not equipped to deal with Trump, and we need to go in a different direction.
Yeah. So, I mean, previous to doing this podcast, I wrote a lot about internet politics distilling into the real world, right? Like, what are the pathways between these two things? To what degree is posting memes influential?
I don't care anymore. Actually, that's better. You can at least see me move my mouth. Where's this bitch at? Oh, it's going. How do you get out of here? Huh? I'm so lost. I forgot how to get out of here. I think I gotta go downstairs. Oh, here we go. Forgot about this. Gotta go get that. 15 minutes remaining. Oh, shit. That's a lot of fucking shit to kill. What do I do? Dude, I gotta wait. Someone's down there. Maybe they pull it. Oops. Oh, there he is. It's fucked up, dude. There's no way. I'm gonna get fucked. There's 15 of them. All right. Let's go there. Rather. Yeah. Oh, hello? What is happening? About to get fucked. Get the fuck out of here. Go to the tube. Give me a fucking... The greatest thing about that, it aggroes me. De-aggro. Dude, I'm glitching out and shit. It's so cool, actually. I don't even gotta put a glitch effect. It's already glitching. Naturally built-in glitch. Oh shit, I fucked up. Die, don't die, don't. Don't die, don't die, don't die, don't die, don't die, don't die. Oh shit. Puta madre. Puta fucking madre. What the fuck? Why, bro? Where was he? I didn't even see him. What the fuck? I'm the one with the goddamn... I'm the one with the, you know. Loke? Okay. I've tried 6 times to do this. I don't know. I don't know, chat. Shouldn't be this way. Know what I mean? It shouldn't be this hard to be alive in this world. All I want is loot. Forgot to bring myself a treat. That's not good. Let's go. We can do it this time, right? There we go. Better shot to this side. The dark night of the moon. Like it, poison. That's right. Yeah. Dude, the possibilities with this motherfucking program. That's insane, bro. I'm not gonna fucking lie. I could literally just make a shot like that. The fuck? Time skew maxed. Huh? You fucking bitch. Put me back in my fucking game, bitch. Yeah? The fuck time skew max my dick that I don't have. Or do I? LOL. Oh shit. We gotta knife this bitch. Oh no, we died. Oh no. Get a gun out. Where's this fucking nest? These fucking nests, bitch. Oh no. There's no video. No, there's nothing. Well, we problem. phone died. Nice shot of me, though. Motherfucker. God damn. Oh, no, I'm good. Don't need that shit. Need to avoid humans. Bridge is a good spot. Usually. Gotta turn this shit up. Alright. Made it through another week, chat. That's right. Oh, shit. Huh? There we go, we're plugged in now. I didn't realize that was possible. I lost my dick. Okay, I'm back. Hello? Fucking robot. Alright. Maintenance. We're not gonna even fuck around. Okay, look. This is the stealth mission to maintenance. Don't let anyone know we exist. And now we just wait here till we get out. We get ready to stab, because there's gonna be a fucking other. Let's see it's here. Device temperature is high, my dick. Who cares? Delta XD. Okay. There we go. Jesus, fuck. My iPhone overheated. Bitch. Alright. Effing. We run. They didn't even see me. How do they see me? Fucked up, bro. She's still following me. She's about to get knifed. I'm dead. Oh, fuck. Should turn it down. Maybe to... Hello.
Recall window will remain stable for 20 minutes.
Fine. Can't have that. Shadow. Good night. Okay, though. Alright, Chad. Mission continue. We don't go near there. Right here, right now. Oop. Don't let me there. Yeah, we can do that. Nothing. gotta go up. Over there. You hear that? I need to app so bad. Fuck. What are we doing? We're on there. Okay. We almost have it up. Sorry, John. There he is. You hear him? He's inside. To my right, over there. Okay, we gotta watch out. Someone's having problems. I think I want to go that way. Oh wait, is that a robot? Fuck that guy. Don't want anything to do over there. Oh shit, I'm in trouble. Hear that guy shooting. Now he's heard me. Not good. And the guy over there heard me. I need to go here. Oh fuck. Oh, upstairs. The whole thing. The fuck? Where's he at? Fuck. I hear him.
15 minutes until signal loss.
I almost have enough. Fuck. A robot? That thing. He's cold. Cold. We don't want him. We don't want anything to do with him. In fact, we should get the fuck out of here. We get the fuck out of here. We get the fuck out of here. We don't have any, but I don't have any fucking. I have none. Armor. See? Can't beat a gold ghost. He's a goat. Dude, is he just hiding somewhere? Maybe go upstairs. Where he is. Lady robot action. Okay. Someone's been here. Okay, we'll take this. Take that too. I actually like that guy. Someone's been here. Where is he? He in there? A better gun though. But I did. That made no noise. Let's go quiet, right? I don't need this. You up. If I see someone. If I see someone, I should queue up. I need to go to maintenance. I need to do loot enhanced or rare root rod salvage and maintenance. Looking for rod salvage. Like right here. Someone already took it all of it. So bad. Such a bad one because, like, I mean, I've tried so many times. Maybe it's right here.
10 minutes remain until forced signal recall.
Maybe here? He's in here. Watch. Fine. My favorite room. Sorry, robot noise. That robot wants attention. You know, Tom Fatty. We got a lot of robot. My vacuum. You know, they talk. No. Don't worry, guys. I won't kill this guy. I just need rods. I don't have any. Standard valuables. Wow. Eight minutes, huh? Okay. Where do we go then? Great house? I guess that's where we got good out. Head in the greenhouse. That was obvious. Go fuck yourself. Skitter, skitter. Fucking skitters. Those things are worse than anything in this game. Not gonna lie. Trust anyone, dude. Where's this bitch at? Lost? Huh? Okay. Oh, here we go. There we go. Oh, now we're talking. What is that? Fuck you. What's up there?
Five minutes until forced recall.
Oh man. USC lies. Dead bodies. Oh, you got 6. Alright. There's 1. We don't want that. Oh, good. I feel like there's another guy out here somewhere. You think I'm here? No.
Repairs in Maintenance Bay 4 incomplete.
Where's this bitch at? Well, I wonder if this guy has a backpack. Might as well go down and check. did. Oh. I need that. Actually.
Connection failing. Exfil within 3 minutes.
Okay, I'm out. Is that where I gotta go? I guess so. No. Where? The fuck? Wait. The fuck? 500 meters. No. Insane. That's insane. Uh-oh. 300 meters. Jesus. I'll be toast. Can't cloak so bad right now. What was that? I gotta go, dude.
Sync silk failure in 60 seconds.
Okay, come on. Oh well, I'm dead. Go. The axe fell? What? I didn't get what I wanted though. God damn it. I killed one guy. Not bad. Yeah, this went well. That's cool as fuck. Alright. Chat, that's it for me tonight. That's right. I gotta go back to Tau Saudi. Tau Ceti. Tau Ceti. Good night.
Live.